You're watching Fine and Dandy. Cheers.
Hi, my name's Cameron, and you need to check out the Fine and Dandy podcast.
You are now watching Fine and Dandy.
Watch the Fine and Dandy podcast. Good shit.
Hey, what's up? We're Soe, and you're watching Fine and Dandy.
Hey everyone, it's your boy Blacasso, and you're tuning in with Fine and Dandy.
You are now watching Fine and Dandy!
Welcome back, everybody. Fine and
Oh, wow.
Dandy Halloween episode. Nice, dude. As you can see, we're all dressed up in Halloween costumes. It was gonna be The Witcher, but we decided that this was a better choice for some reason.
I don't think he.
You got to show him the tutu.
He's definitely not
I
You
don't.
got
telling
come
the
on.
truth. He doesn't have a Witcher costume. This is his
I
option A.
do have a Witcher costume, but
I never saw the Witcher costume.
You just couldn't tell.
Right?
It just looked like a black long sleeve on with a necklace, so it just wasn't without the whole fit.
Why's it got to be black?
Now you're making it.
Dang.
No.
Why can't you just dress up as a fairy or a Princess Bubblegum? Why can't you just enjoy that?
I am. I said I wasn't.
Say, why is there got to be an asterisk
You look pretty
involved?
comfortable in it, to be honest. I must say.
I'm popping out of it. Dude. Tough
Yeah,
out
that's
here.
pretty sweet.
You are popping out
Not
of
for
it.
me. I mean, I wasn't thinking about that.
This is a PG
Somebody else
show.
might
Well, I
have
don't
to.
know about PG.
Yeah,
But-
I wouldn't say it was PG.
I-
I probably would not say that. Maybe the last two episodes were
Uh,
maybe PG.
We've had some PG episodes.
There's been a couple of them. We got Super Mario over here.
Hello,
Josh.
mate. Fucking.
Josh has been Super Mario the past
He's
5
Australian.
years.
Super
I think it's just
Mario
the
is
past 2 years.
Australian now.
But I just didn't feel like buying another costume this year.
No, you were Mario when I was Toad.
Was that 3 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought he
didn't
was
do- I
Mario
don't
when
think
you were
I think I
the
thought that was
big
last year.
sumo wrestler baby.
Yeah, so 3
I
years.
thought that was last year.
Dude, we've lived here.
No,
for 2
that
years.
was a long time ago. That was a while ago.
Damn,
that
I've
was
had this
when
for
I
that
met.
long.
Yeah.
That's
no,
crazy.
that was about 2 years ago.
Okay,
No.
so 2 years back.
Unless
but
those
I don't
were
think
old costumes.
I don't think
when
I
saw
used
them.
it last year.
Well, it would be 3rd year in a row that he would have it.
But own it, yes, but I don't think I used it last year. So the second time I've used it in 3 years is fair.
Y'all were wearing these when I went to y'all's house that you had.
That is true.
Yeah, that was.
That was 2 Halloweens ago though. Because last Halloween was our first Halloween in this apartment.
Because we moved in the
January,
previous December.
right? Just December.
I'm
that's
trying
what
to think of
was.
it in terms of Renaissance Festival because I'm like, okay, well that would be 2 Renaissance. like,
But
that's
yeah,
how he.
I mean, I've only
that
worn
he deciphers
I've only
time.
worn it once before on the pod, I think, for that Halloween episode, and I think I wore it that year for the parties and shit.
this is
But-
not the first Halloween episode.
No,
It's technically the only second one, I think. We didn't do one last year.
you're right. I don't think
I don't think we did. We just time was flying and trying to get our shit together. Like this year's been the most consistent year where we've just been like,
getting shit out.
I feel honored to be a part of this.
we
this Halloween
feel
episode,
fucking
kinda.
blessed to have you, not just as a part of this, but definitely as a part of this project going forward.
low key from the
Thank you.
distance in the camera though. If you look at it, since you're a little bit further back, you look like MF Doom.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't
Like
know what that
MF Doom
is.
with horns. You don't know
I don't know
what
what
MF Doom looks
is.
like?
Oh, I look like MF Doom? I thought you
Yeah.
were saying
No,
you
no, no,
look
no,
like
no.
MF Doom. What is MF Doom?
Doom.
Oh, Doom, like the Doom.
Doom. MF Doom's a
Doom
rapper.
was a rapper.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
This would be a
not
good
familiar.
chance to pull up the laptop, but it's all good.
I mean, honestly, I can grab it real quick. It's not gonna take long.
What
The
You
laptop.
can do it if you want to.
It's up to y'all.
Nah, honestly, just
Fuck it. We'll
Yeah.
run it. But yeah, no. It's been a fucking wild ride. This is the second official Halloween episode. We're probably a lot more established and like prepared for this than the first one that we did. I think the first one that we did was just kind of like off the cuff, like, oh shit, is it October already?
that was fun. If y'all can find that one from 2 years ago, I guess. If
I don't know which episode it was.
2020, what is this? 2023, so 2021, October.
Somewhere in that
If
range.
you can find that, then good luck. But that
Good
one,
luck.
that one was okay. It wasn't bad, dude. I was Toad and he was Mario, and you know the setup was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So for Cole, you didn't know. For everyone, we'll just give some history too while we're here. Why not? During that episode, so for that studio, right, we were in a garage but it was a weird. So you remember the house that we had, right?
Yes.
So the house, go upstairs, you'd walk in. There was a garage on top of a garage, by
It was a double garage.
How do you park your garage in the garage on top of the garage?
You park your garage by putting it in park.
Holy sh!
But no, it was weird. Like they kind of like raised the whole house after one of the hurricanes, I think. But they including the garage, like so the instead of turning what used to be the garage into another room, they just kept it as a garage, raised that bitch up, and put another garage underneath it.
Gotta keep
It
the
was a
mask on.
garage squared.
Yeah, dude.
Do I have
At
to
least
keep it
for
on?
we haven't even made it in like.
Well, it's just it keeps sliding. So.
Dude, well, dude.
I mean, you know what? I gotta be fair though. You're in essentially a training bra.
Come
so
on, yeah. Let me.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say
that's fair. I'll
basically-
keep the mask on.
Yeah.
I'll keep the mask on as long as I can.
as
should've-
long
Just
as-
keep your
Oh!
training bra on as long as you can.
Honestly, what's on
Okay.
underneath is a little scarier than what's on right now. But I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But
Damn.
burn. Yeah, no. So it was a garage above a garage, and essentially that was our studio. So you have to go through one of our roommates' room, and then to enter into the garage
Oh, that's
because
fun.
the garage was attached to
The
the
I
garage
vaguely
squared.
remember that, but I don't think I went into any of the garages.
It was a garage squared.
Yeah, so the studio was in there, and then we
At
like
best.
we padded up the walls a little bit, and then it was weird though because there was a balcony.
Well, because the
But there was a
garage
garage
door
door
still
slit
opened,
open.
and then there was like a little railing, and that acted as a balcony
So it
out
was
of that
just
room.
it was a type of frat house gone awry.
I
No.
would say it
It had a
wasn't.
balcony, but swear to God, if you open that garage while the
I would say
what
that
are you
it.
saying? Like the balcony?
No, you go in
So
the
no, no, no. The whole room is just a garage, and so since it's raised up, whenever the garage doors open, it's just like open as if a driveway would be there type shit. But since it's
But
on the
there's
second
not.
floor, they just put a railing up so that it acts as somewhat of a balcony whenever those doors are up. So you can put those doors up. They're fully functional.
Did they tear this house down?
They should have. I would say that if
No,
they didn't,
I mean,
they need to.
at
like,
first, the way I heard it, it sounded like a death trap. But now that I hear it, I'm kind of like, no, this-
intrigued by it.
yeah, a little bit,
Yeah.
a little bit.
So we built a stage inside of that garage,
A wooden stage.
Okay.
and then we
Which in hindsight was completely unnecessary.
well, the
it seemed like a good idea whenever we were thinking about it and like concocting it. And we were like, we could put this here, we could put this here. But once we built it, it was like, we don't need this. We could have just did this shit on the fucking floor.
I mean, did you ever use it?
yeah, our stage, our studio was on that stage, but in hindsight, we could have just, instead of using beanbag chairs on that stage, we could have just got different chairs and done it on the floor and not have built that stage.
I feel like there's going to be a hardcore listener of the podcast. It's like, wow, you guys have this guy on the podcast now? He doesn't know. Like, he doesn't know the lore of the podcast.
I
No,
mean,
because
hopefully
we've
no
had
one knew that.
multiple different sets, so I would be surprised if anyone's actually stuck around to see all of them.
This has been the most
consistent set.
and also better looking
Yes, I would agree.
style sets.
I would
The other
agree
ones
with
were a
that.
little like,
Oh,
rough.
I
Other
thought
rough.
you meant, yeah, okay.
what you,
What the fuck? What's going on in your mind,
I was
buddy?
like, I was like, have y'all had other people be members of the podcast before? They just
no, we're not talking about you.
were
We're talking about
not
set.
as good looking as I am.
No, they were
What?
all much better looking.
Yeah,
I don't doubt that.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that was weird though. So then we had the soundproofing behind it, and we were in these shitty beanbag chairs.
Yeah.
The beanbag chairs, dude.
You didn't like those?
No,
they
no,
were
no.
good at first.
I think
Being
I think
cool.
we liked them, but they were horrible for our backs. They were horrible for like the support system of
Just wasn't
being in
very
a
practical.
fucking spot for
Yeah.
an hour and a half. Type
At one
shit.
point, you're sitting on the floor.
You're on the fucking floor.
It's not even the because it wasn't like
The beans have bagged.
Yeah.
yeah, they were like cheaper style bean bags. So it was like these little styrofoam things that eventually just like flatten out, and become nothing. So you're just like half bean bag and
Just powdered
basically.
all the way
Were
down to the
original
bottom.
bean bags actual beans in the bag?
I don't know what they were. I know, like usually it's like beads. Like,
Bag
there's,
o'
like, small
beans.
beads. You know
That's
what I
what
mean?
I thought they were. Little beads.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I had ex-girlfriend. She didn't sleep on a mattress. I mean, for years, like 4 years straight, she didn't sleep on a mattress. She slept on. She slept on the liver. She slept on 2 bean bags. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know
That's
what
weird.
it is.
And it was by choice. It was not like.
Bro, there's some
No,
people
it
that
was
have
it
like,
was 100% by choice.
oh hell yeah.
Oh, I
This
don't know
shit
what
is
that
sensitive.
was.
My bad, guys.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely is. Yeah.
But
yeah,
yeah.
but no, we but it was definitely like by choice. Like, I mean, there was, she just liked sleeping on bean bags, so that was a thing for a while.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it is,
Interesting.
but I feel like there is a weird thing about people that like have a fully functioning mattress that they've paid a lot of money for, and they're like, I don't know, maybe I'll just not use it. Like, like in situations like that, or fucking
She
just
never
sleep
had a
on
mattress.
couches.
There's no bed there.
Okay, well,
I wouldn't
this
mind
is
sleeping on
maybe
the
a
floor if
different
I had like
situation.
one of those like like the mattress toppers, the ones that like it's like
Oh, you mean like a pad?
a pad
Like a pad
or something. I probably would sleep on the floor. They say it's actually not. It's actually pretty good for your back to sleep on the floor.
Yeah,
here
I
and
think Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, you
used to
should
sleep
start
on his
doing
back,
it,
didn't
bro.
he? Like on the floor.
there. What? And what'd you say?
I say, yeah, you should start doing it.
I'll do it.
I actually, I'm not even kidding. I used to, in the middle of the night when I was in high school, I would move from my bed because if I woke up in the middle of the night, I would not be able to go back to sleep. So I would move from my bed to the floor.
I've done that.
And I would actually move to the floor, and I would sleep next to my bed on the floor, and I slept. I would immediately fall back to sleep. And I slept great.
It is
My
crazy.
mom
I've had
freaked.
that
She was
happen.
like, she didn't freak out, but she was like, I just remember her being really like, "What the hell are you doing?
My
Like,
son's a
like, why are you
fucking
sleep-
weirdo,
Yeah, like
dude.
you fall off the bed and you just come back." I was like, "No, I just wanted to sleep on the floor."
She's more concerned after that.
Yeah.
Actually, she's like,
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, you're crazy."
She's like,
That's
"Oh, you
cool." We kind of
didn't
felt like
fall.
that. But.
That's how has this happened?
Well, even at my friends' houses and stuff, when I would always, when I would go stay at people's house or there was a party or anything, like I was totally content with not having anywhere to sleep because I would just sleep on the floor. And if I had a blanket and pillow, like I was fine, and I was passed out in 5 seconds.
Bro, the sleepovers where you weren't given a blanket and pillow were fucking hilarious, like insane. You just
You're
find
just
like
like,
a couch cushion to put over your
yeah,
legs.
like
You're
one
like,
of these.
I would use a pillow to go to sleep. It was
Huh?
rough. Pillow, just
Oh,
like a
yeah.
pillow, one pillow
Yeah.
to sleep. Because sometimes the couch, the couch would no cushions, really to use.
the couches that have the cushions that are just like sewn into it that you can't pull them off.
Yeah.
Fuck those
That's what I'm
couches.
saying. So it would just be a pillow. You'd
Oh, because you can't use it as a blanket.
you can't like
I feel
manipulate
that.
it to
Yeah.
like
No,
kind of
that's
pull
what-
it down.
That's what I'm
and
saying.
shit.
And the couch would just have one pillow. So you'd have one pillow.
Yeah.
You can't use the cushions you're laying on
Yeah.
because that's
Unless you slept on the floor. And then you
that
can
would have
pull them
solved all
off.
my problems. See,
And
there
I'm
you-
not going to say I haven't done that before.
rough out here. Gotta do what you.
It's just because the AC's not hitting you. You know what I mean? So you get warmer, and you have that layer. Even though it's not a blanket, it's just still something that's going over you. You know.
Yeah.
Honestly, we should bring back the bean.
Bring
I thought you were
back
gonna
the
say
bean
bring back
bags.
the-
How about
Using the
that? That's
couch
our next
cushion.
idea. We each pitch in for just huge bean bags, and then we all share one bean bag with the guest. One huge.
we just take the fucking table out of here. We put everything on it on fucking shelves.
Just a giant.
Fucking wall mount the mics and just get one big ass beanbag for the room. All right, get comfortable, everybody.
We're all sharing one bean bag.
I
Or
mean,
at most just two. One bean bag for 3 of us, and then one bean bag for the guests to sit on. And then we gotta face each other like it's a versus match.
what do
just
you mean?
like- Just staring directly into each other's.
It's not the worst idea you've ever had.
It would be funny.
What would be the worst idea he's ever had?
It's a lot, probably.
Just curious.
Tough one.
The
How many-
idea that a hot dog is a taco.
No, that's a. I feel like anyone.
Nope,
You
that's
agree with me?
bullshit.
Hot dog is no. Yeah, hot dog is a taco.
It's like saying Gordita's hamburger, bro. It ain't it.
It ain't it.
Kind of.
Different.
It's just the first one that came to mind, but he's had plenty.
Cereal soup.
I'm sorry. What was that? What?
Go back.
What
Cereal.
the fuck did you just say?
Cereal is soup and hot dog is a taco. Quesadilla is a sandwich.
I'll give you cereal is like some type of soup stew.
The
maybe.
quesadilla a sandwich?
I'll give that. Is a quesadilla a sandwich? No.
Why?
The bread's just too different. What it comes down to is the bread. You can put a lot of things in a quesadilla. You can put a lot of things in a sandwich.
But
what
sandwich
makes the
has a lot of
difference
different
is the
types of bread.
Is lasagna a cake?
Is it what?
Like
Yeah.
a meat cake?
It's a pasta. It's a pasta. All right, now I'm starting to see where this goes. It never ends. So I'm just gonna have to say no to all because we have to have boundaries,
Across
or
the
life
board,
falls
fuck
into
that shit.
chaos. You know, we can't have chaos. We have to have
Can and you
rules.
should.
I don't know. If you think about it, like deep dish pizza is kind of a lasagna.
It's a pie.
It is. It's a pasta.
It's a pizza
Pizza
pie.
Pizza is a pasta.
What?
Okay, now
See,
Bro,
that's
all
what?
Italian food is pasta.
No,
It's just all pasta. It's all
Fucking
pasta.
chicken parmesan. It's a pasta.
And, I mean,
there's no noodles on pizza.
why does there have to be noodles for it to be
Noodles?
pasta? Lasagna doesn't have noodles.
Yeah, it does.
Lasagna
it's got layers.
is noodles.
There's noodles in between. Have you
Yeah,
ever?
but it's a layer. It's not just a
a
noodle. A
noodle.
noodle's like a long, or
No,
a
it's-
shaped.
It is shaped.
Look,
It's
I'm
a fucking
I'm arguing for nothing here. I have nothing.
Is a croissant
I'm
a
defending
cookie?
it, but to be honest, it's
now
probably
you're getting okay. No, but there's noodles in there. So
wait, wait.
there's noodles.
So are you saying that lasagna is a cake? Is that what you said? Did you say
That
cake
is
or
what I
pie?
said.
What
the
did you
meat
say?
cake?
It's a meat cake. It's a meat and
Oh,
pasta
I don't like
sauce
the sound
cake.
of that at all.
It's a meat and
I
pasta
don't like
cake.
the sound of that. I don't want meat cakes.
All right, before we get too out of
Meat
here,
I don't want
meat
y'all's
cake.
meat cakes. That's for sure.
I think Cole has some topics he wanted to talk about today. Cole's really into the esoteric, the whole like occultism, the whole fucking Halloween vibes. Goes to Winfest.
For the record, I don't believe in it. But I do love learning about it because I
Yep.
think it's fascinating.
He's really into Halloween. That's why he dressed like a rapist this year.
I don't.
Boom.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
He's
I
Sorry,
don't
that-
even-
trigger
he's not
warning.
kidding.
Trigger warning. For real, I'm sorry, but
For
Yeah,
real,
if you
I'm
see
sorry.
this on your average day in New York City in a back alley, get the fuck out of there.
I'm not gonna lie. If I
that's-
saw that in an average day in New York City, I'd be like, "That's just like the
Probably
anti-hero of the
normal.
day." Yeah, that's
probably normal.
where's
Oh, look,
Spidey when
another
you need him?
crazy guy. New
Have
York
you ever
City.
seen the fits that New York City fucking motherfuckers have? They're the worst things I've ever seen. They're like, yeah, Gucci and Jaban or go. I don't know.
Gucci
Yeah, that's the
Gabbana?
company.
Gucci and Jaban.
Goji and Gabbana. Is that a fucking trying to say
Hello?
chicken and yoki soup or some shit? Like, but no, I do agree with you. There is some like very extravagant like.
Shit.
There's some people that go out on limbs. I don't know if it's
That's a
across
nice
the
way of saying it.
board.
It's
I don't know if
pretty
there's if it's across the board. There are probably some like good fashion people that come out of New York and stuff like that. But all of the Bing Bong videos, definitely, it's like, what are you wearing, my friend?
This is, okay, like this is where I'm at. Fashion is all perspective based.
Yes.
For sure.
It's also
Well,
location
yeah.
based to a degree,
Yeah,
time based to a degree.
Yeah, no, there is designer and shit like that, designer based and shit like that too, you know, on another level. And I understand the artistic, you know, ability of what fashion can be, but sometimes you just miss the target. I don't know what to tell you. It's bad.
There's bad songs out there too.
Yeah,
it's like just because something is artistic doesn't mean it's gonna hit, you know.
That's very true. That's very
Like, you
the
know what?
most
You went
true.
out on a limb and you did, like you said, you know, nice way of putting it. You went out on a limb and you went for the stars.
I appreciate it.
You missed the moon. I'm sorry. It was gone.
You mi-
Yeah.
It was bad. It wasn't not what you thought it was. It didn't hit like it was going to. Like the fucking trash bags that fucking Balenciaga had.
That shit was hilarious. Well, I mean, the whole Yeezy collection, it's like he did make like
Homeless.
homeless look chic type shit.
Homeless chic.
Homeless chic.
what did he say? What is it? It's the derelict campaign in Zoolander. That's what he calls it because he like makes trash like fashionable.
Oh, I think I remember
if you remember
that.
the
Yeah,
Zoolander
yeah.
movie, Mugatu makes trash fashionables and he calls it the derelict campaign.
The
you know what I mean?
derelict.
Which derelict I think means just trashy, literally, like just like garbage.
Have you seen the trash bag though? It's like made from like cow leather or some shit, out of cow leather or something like that.
The
And
what?
The trash. It's made to look like a trash bag.
What?
It's a handbag that looks legitimately like a trash bag.
And it's made out of what?
like $1,600.
Why couldn't they make it out of trash bag?
Then it wouldn't be $1,600. Well, I mean, it could be.
Well,
mean, it
no,
might be.
because the material's not what makes it $1,600, right? It's the brand.
I think it's a little bit of both, right?
You would hope.
Probably a
it's
little
probably
bit of both.
just
I would
the
think it's
brand.
mostly the brand, though.
Yeah,
Because, I mean,
to a
like,
degree.
nice leather is like 100. Okay, yeah, I could see, okay, you have a purse that looks like trash, but it's made out of nice leather, so, okay, that's maybe $300.
But what if it's
Maybe.
not made out of nice leather? It's just a hefty
Leather?
bag that they fuck you
A
leather.
hefty bag?
It's just a
Like
hefty bag that they
like the
sew to
brand
fucking
Hefty?
Louis Vuitton
Like
or whatever.
hefty.
Yes.
Like that, okay. But you add the brand on
you
it?
add like a
That's
stitching
still going
to
to be
it.
at least $1,500.
1,500.
Like
All for it.
for that. I mean, vanity appeal is insane. I mean, that shit's
Are you
crazy.
looking it up?
Okay, so I did have so my thing was, I mean, I didn't have too much that I particularly wanted to talk about, but I was immediately bothered that Daniel has never seen the movie Eyes Wide Shut.
I have also never seen that movie.
Okay, so neither of you have seen it?
That is correct.
Just give us a
Just to give you
spoiler.
a good,
So
a
that
nice
was
little
like my
bothering
that was
tickle.
my that was my goal behind the costume. Also, my goal was not spending $1, which I did not do because this is a combination of work clothes and Renfest stuff, so I didn't have to really do anything.
You and me both, brother.
But so the whole idea of the movie Eyes, well, some history first to put the context in order. The director that did Eyes Wide Shut,
God, these shoes are ugly. I'm sorry, dude.
he is the same director that
Holy
did The Shining,
Fuck.
which is what is his name? I'm having a brain fart.
Your mom.
Are you talking about the actor?
The director that did
Stanley
Eyes Wide Shut and
Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick. Thank you. Yes, also did 2001: A
Did you look
Space
it up or you
Odyssey.
knew that?
No,
The whole
I knew
conspiracy
that he
of,
directed The Shining.
The whole conspiracy of NASA and
Not
the moon
Alex
landing,
Space
right? You know, he got them. You know, he was the person that they helped film the moon landing, and coincidentally, all the things in his movie that came out before the moon landing. So basically, he came out with 2001: A Space Odyssey. 2001: A Space Odyssey, there's this material on spaceships that they used to travel, and you could walk on it and your shoes would stick to it. So the whole theory is like, this is where Velcro comes from. And like, he knew Velcro was going to be, because Velcro was invented for astronauts. They could stick things to, you know, zero gravity, they could stick things to surfaces. They wouldn't just be floating around, right? And they could stick to surfaces. So NASA invented Velcro. And it's like their whole thing is like, how did you know about that before, you know, it was a thing? Obviously, that could just be coincidence.
Keep looking at him.
I'm sorry. But he also directed this movie with Tom Cruise called Eyes Wide Shut. And the whole thing is about this, like, rich doctor in New York. And he basically, through a roundabout situation with his failing marriage, gets invited to this really fancy costume party. He doesn't get invited to it. He just has a college friend that is playing piano at it, and he's the musician for the party. And so he's playing it, and he ends up meeting up with him. And he's like, "Hey, man, I'm working this party that's like a big bougie thing. Like, you have to wear a mask, you have to wear a costume. You know, it's really hard to get into, and you can't get into it without this password. You're not supposed to go, but if you want to go, this is the password. Go get a costume." And Tom Cruise is like, "You know what? My marriage is failing. I'm looking for adventure. Like,
Nice.
okay, whatever." So he goes, and at the last moment's notice, he's like, "You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go to the party." He gets a costume, goes to the party. His wife is also at the party, theoretically, is what everybody, I mean, like, his wife is at the party. And she has a costume on as well. So they don't know each other are there. You know what I mean? And but it ends up being this thing where it's all these super rich people that are wearing these costumes, and it's just where they go to do whatever they want. There's points where he walks into certain rooms and people are just having sex, and it's actors. You know, like, you presume it's actors, billionaires, trillionaires, you know, all the world's leaders or whatever and everything like that. But he gets caught, and people find out he's not supposed to be there, so they kind of call him out. And then the rest of the movie, I won't get into the rest of the movie, but that's the gist of it. But he died before the movie ever even released.
Who did?
Stanley Kubrick, the director.
Fuck.
Yeah. So he made this movie, and some of it, like people say, it doesn't really have like a legitimate ending. And there's you could go into theories about how there's the main theory is that he didn't get to finish it, but it was finished. I don't have like a full comprehensive understanding of it, but I do like the movie because it's a good movie, and it's, in my opinion, one of Tom Cruise's. Like, I'm not really a huge fan of him, but I actually think he did really good in that movie. But the whole idea is that he finds this world, and they're like, "You're not supposed to be here, and you're not part of this." And he sees it, and then it just turns into this whole other thing. But
Weird, creepy thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I think.
But he died right before it came out.
That is.
That's
kinda
why
cra-
it's like people are like, "What?" And
And
it's basically the whole theory is that it totally exposes the Illuminati, like just completely exposes it. And then he makes this movie and immediately dies.
Oh, I see
That's-
where you're
this
going.
is the
Okay,
theory,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I see where you're
Yeah.
going. It's like he.
And Tom Cruise is in it, and a bunch of big actors. So there's all these theories about it.
People are like, you can't.
I mean, it's hard to watch it and not kind of be like, okay, and then he died. That's kind of weird.
I think Illuminati is such a.
and people have the theories about The Shining too.
Yeah, before we go deep into that though, which cool costume. Now we know the meaning behind the costume. Eyes wide shut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is also an interesting title.
No, well,
Title,
I mean,
title,
you know,
yeah, name of the title.
yeah.
But kind of going into that though, it is. I mean, Illuminati. I feel like it's such an umbrella term at this point. I mean, of course, rich people and people in power are gonna have like
Private things because they don't want people to
yeah, and
see
them
them partying and doing
and,
things
just
maybe they shouldn't.
a lot of different stuff like that. And then of course, okay, yeah, dude, real nice.
Dude,
Here
come
we go
on.
again.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Here we
I'm
go.
sorry.
You
It
can't
keeps
commit to
falling.
a bit apparently.
It keeps falling, and then I'm still here for it. Here, look. I'll even. There we go. You still can't see my face.
now you're hoodwinked hocus pocus.
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever you want.
It
But
still works.
But essentially, like rich people, or if you're in power, I feel like if you're part of anything like that, there's probably like things where like you have to do this stuff or else you're outed. Like we have to know you're with us. It's like a with us or against us
It's
type
that,
of thing.
Yeah, and like, I mean, can we trust you? Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like we all.
We're all in this.
I mean, 'cause
bullshit together.
we as nobodies can kind of do whatever we want, and like the world isn't gonna notice. We'll go on, and everything will be as it was, and nobody's probably gonna remember us, as a normal person. But rich, big people that have a lot of things at stake and a lot of money and power and
you gotta
stuff
have
like
something
that at
over
stake,
somebody.
Everybody wants to have something over them. Like that's kind of like a goal, is because that'll climb you up. You know what I mean? Like having stuff over people will that gives you an opportunity to grow. And so it makes sense if they're like, like we want to do what other people do. We want to party. Like we want to do the psychedelics. Like we want to do all that shit, and we don't want people looking at us weird for it because we have things on the line.
See, once again, that's the optimistic way. I was looking at it more like there's certain aspects to it where it's like we are gonna do this weird shit, but also like if you're really, it's like you want to be a part of this, you have to do this weird shit. I can't trust somebody who won't.
I'm
do this
playing
weird
the
shit.
devil's
That-
advocate.
I mean, that's
'Cause of
like
my costume.
the old drug dealer thing. It's like I gotta if I can trust you, then you wouldn't mind doing some coke here. It's like no, I would rather not do coke. But if I say no, then now you're gonna think I'm a cop or some shit. You know what I mean? Like there's that weird like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
dynamic where you're painted into a corner. It's like I kind of wish I didn't come here. But
Or what's that movie where he's a cop and he's gonna be an undercover cop and he's like, well, you
Fucking-
got to smoke this joint. And he's
fucking
like, no, I don't
Training
want to.
Day, right?
Is that what it is?
Is that Training Day?
No,
Maybe I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
I think it was a rated R movie. I can't remember what it was, but
Training Day is good as fuck though. But
Denzel,
never seen
bro,
it. That's-
come on.
yeah, but that's not the point. But what I was gonna say is on a separate point, like something you said about like the Illuminati becoming such like a umbrella term. I think that's probably more of like a dangerous thing than anything because it kind of allows all of these different under like ground groups to be able to exist and just point to the Illuminati as like, oh, it's just under that umbrella, you know what I mean? But it's not.
yeah, for sure.
It's just people doing this secret shit that they have going for them in their own personal lives, and then someone finds out about it. It's easy to just point back to the big organization that everyone has these conspiracies towards. You know what I mean?
There's tons of secret groups out there.
Exactly.
Well,
That's
to be
kinda what I'm
fair,
trying
do you
to
know
say.
where the Illuminati comes from? Like where that phrase comes from? And where
No, you should tell the crowd.
Right. So there, it actually was a legitimate, real secret society, just like what do you have?
Masons.
The Freemasons. It was just like that, and I think it was like 30s, 40s, 20s, but it was just one of those. And I think they were either out of Italy or Germany. They existed for a little bit, and then they kind of just fell into disarray and didn't really go anywhere. Freemasons went somewhere. But then people have the theory that the Freemasons are run by the Illuminati, and it, you know what I mean, like so all that. But the Illuminati was like a legitimate and just basic ass, private society.
Or is that what they want you to think?
Exactly.
But I think.
But if you look into their history, they're like not that special. They're like actually like even compared to the Freemasons, they're like not as interesting. They're honestly kind of boring. It's a little bit boring.
The thing is about groups
but isn't
like
that
that.
how you want your history to be
Yes.
for
Yes,
the
it's
public?
true,
You know
but
what I
you
mean?
could-
If
yeah,
you
but of
are
course
doing
you
whatever
could
you
think
want
that
to be
about
doing
all
type
of it.
shit,
You're not
you
very
want people
secret
to think
if-
that you're boring and not
yeah,
doing
yeah.
You're not
shit.
so much secret to the society if everyone
Well,
knows your
so
history.
the whole
you
thing
know?
was they were like pretty bad at keeping it secret. Like that's the whole thing. That's why, like, when I found that out, because I've looked a lot into them and stuff, and just like the way they started, and I didn't realize that it was an actual secret society. I thought it was like a conspiracy thing, like where somebody came up with the phrase Illuminati. Like that's what I had always thought.
But in the
'cause
same way that
I didn't
like,
know about it, and then I looked up and it was like, nope, it was actually like a society started by this person, and I don't remember the names, but it was like started by this person, carrying on with this person, and they weren't even original. They were a splinter group of a different
a splinter
society.
cell.
Yeah, they were
No Tom Clancy.
no Tom hashtag no Tom Clancy. But yeah, the Illuminati was like a split off of a different group. Neither of them lasted. I think like the Freemasons are like one of the oldest ones.
Adam Weishaupt.
Adam
Started the
Warlock.
Illuminati.
Yeah.
What was he? Was it Italian or German?
It says founder. Let's see. He was a German philosopher.
Okay, yeah. So German. Okay,
But the
that's
thing
what
is,
I
like,
thought.
a lot of secret groups, it's just a lot of those too. It's like any group, you know what I mean? It's connections. It's just basically like, especially when you get to a certain level of power, you're gonna have things to get in because they have to be able to trust you. And then once you're in, kind of one of those, something happens, you have all these connections. You can give someone a call and get out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah. It's a fraternity.
Yeah.
It's a fraternity.
I mean, in,
You know
in
what I mean?
other
And
words,
like,
yeah.
I would even say the same thing goes for, when you go to lower levels of the type of situation. You got groups of people that are police officers, right? They're going to hook each other up. You got groups of people that are, what is it? I don't know.
The service industry works the same way, So
Yeah,
I mean,
for
as
sure.
small
Yeah,
as that,
100%.
like,
it's
hey,
just groups
I
of
think
people,
we've just normalized and like kind of like oversaturated the idea of what a fraternity is. Like whenever you hear the word, you think of like a fucking frat house or fucking Greek letters or some
No,
shit.
yeah, but it's more
but a
than that,
fraternity is it's like the community of people that have like do have like a common goal that are able to support one another in these different ways.
You help each other out.
It doesn't
yeah.
have to just be men. It can be men and women. It can be people across different states and countries and all these different things. It's not just this college campus's fucking party school like house. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
we have like a fucking conflated idea of what it is, but that idea is almost kind of taken away from our ability to see these fraternities in front of us type shit. Like whenever you do see like a cop like say like Blue Lives Matter whenever a fucking somebody gets killed or some shit, it's like that's weird that's the fucking first thing that you wanted to say whenever you saw this, sir, but that's because you're in this fraternity and you have the need to
and it
support
creates the
your
group
boys
mentality,
type
right?
shit.
And
Exactly.
yeah, and your identification, right?
You also kind of
Right.
have to. You don't
Yeah,
have
in
to.
that's
certain
well, it's-
in
if you
certain
want to remain
fraternities,
part of the
that's
group,
true. You
then you
do
have to
kinda
follow
have
the
to.
group morale, right? Like if you want to remain part of the group, then you got to be part of the group.
It's
because
like
if
whenever
you
there's like a
disagree,
hazing
then-
scandal at a college, it's not like those people involved in that hazing scandal are just out of the fraternity. No, they probably serve whatever the punishment is, and then they're right back in that bitch.
Oh, that's plenty of it.
If not
yeah.
all of it.
Yeah, that's plenty of it. Although I will say, like, I mean, it's definitely got to be more difficult now because of the way. Social
definitely. Internet has
justice
changed
works
things
and
for sure,
stuff.
but
yeah, no, for real. So I would argue like most of it for the worse, but it has those little things where it's like, well, people would be treating each other maybe, like we'd still be seeing some shit that maybe we wouldn't want to see.
There are things that the
happen
internet
more frequently
has.
because there was no light shown on it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, I'd say like when we were in college, it was still like they still did some type of hazing, even though. But this is the way they'd be like, we don't haze anymore. Yeah, you have to say
They
that.
roundabout haze.
It's on paper.
It's the same way the Marine Corps will say, like, they don't haze anymore, but they do it in different ways. Like, they'll find their way, but it's not going to be the way that it used to be.
We're not gonna beat you.
That's what I was about to say. Is
From
like
my understanding of it is, yeah, they're not going to physically do it, although I'm sure in a lot of
When it's
situations
sure it
they
still happens.
do.
It's still gonna be there. Yeah.
I don't want to speak on it because I have a few Marine acquaintances.
my bad, guys.
But no, I just mean like I don't want to say that for them.
Oh yeah, you can.
But
yeah, you can.
but I'm sure it does still happen. But the way I've heard it is, it's like way more. It's just way more. They like roundabout ways to fuck with you because they're like, okay, I can't touch you, but I'm still gonna fuck with you.
But that's kind of what
Like,
I was gonna
It
try to
doesn't
say
mean
though.
like sometimes wouldn't you rather get punched in the stomach than do some dumb shit?
It's very immediate pain.
Spend like 7 hours cleaning
Instead
something.
of that or the psychological distress from like being told the one fucking or just being attacked of the one insecurity that everybody knows that you have type shit in the fucking Marine Corps
Exactly.
or whatever. It's
Yeah,
like on a
exactly.
daily
Yeah.
basis you just get attacked on that shit.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
what
like,
they do.
all right, well, fucking A, I guess fuck me, right?
It's more mental torture.
I'd rather you slap the shit out of me.
What movie was that where like the dude goes in the bathroom? It's like it's a military movie, and then like
Full Metal Jacket.
where he goes in the restroom and he
Yes,
yeah.
Full
This
Metal
is my
Jacket.
rifle. This is my gun. Yeah.
It's that's actually the guy from Law and Order. The dude that's holding the gun. He's I cannot remember the detective's name, but he's the main guy in Law and
Risotto.
Order SVU.
The
He's
one
really
with
tall,
the woman partner.
and yeah, he's like kind of a dick, and he talks really quietly, like he talks with a slight whisper. That's that guy. Yeah, I didn't I always loved that guy as an actor from Law and Order. I didn't watch Full Metal Jacket until I was older.
Are you talking about fucking
Doo-doo butt.
Christopher Melanie or Elliot Stabler?
I think
forgot.
Elliot Stabler.
It's his. They're all the SVU characters, dog.
Yeah, I think you're wrong, bro.
Yeah.
She looks
Yeah, well,
right.
she's.
But I thought you were talking about a dude. You said tall dude. You misgendering this actor?
Guys know.
Whoever
He doesn't know what he's
they'll
talking
be able to
about, dude.
Google it at home.
Yeah, you're good at hell.
Just do your own research. You know what I mean? Like,
But no, that's what I was gonna say. Is the internet did change like people's ability to get away with physical violence or physical like harm to a degree, but it did like kind of change people's like perspective of like how to punish a person that you can't hit type shit. It's like I feel like maybe before the internet, psychological harm in certain ways wasn't as effective because people were very much more physical with their attacks in certain ways.
well, true, but also people just didn't give a shit a long time ago about what people said online. Like,
well,
there's the
online
people
didn't
that
exist
did.
at one point.
There's
That's kind of what I'm saying.
What?
I said online didn't exist at
Right.
one point.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
for
what
sure.
I'm saying.
Like you're talking about before that, and then
Right.
transfer it to the internet. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah,
it kind of
definitely.
like gave people
Yeah.
not just like the fear of attacking somebody physically, but also the ability to attack somebody psychologically without any repercussions type shit.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, but okay, I'll ask you this: like, would you rather receive a very short physical punishment or a long-term psychological or
For sure,
Yeah,
the
I guess
I mean, the short
psychological.
physical. Yeah,
Right?
You're gonna
Like,
heal from that.
you know what I mean? That's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, that does give you mental, but like if it's continuous psychological torture, that shit's gonna fuck you up.
Yeah,
way
for sure.
Longer.
Yeah, definitely. Give you some type of trauma. Like, I mean, not that physical, punishment wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, at best,
but-
someone's gonna like hit the fist. You're like, oh shit, like 2 for flinchies, but like
Two
psychological.
for flinchies.
Yeah, just-
Psychological damage. I think people just underestimate it.
I don't know, dude. I think a lot of people are mentally ill this day and age, and I don't think
Okay,
anyone's
yeah, maybe
underestimating.
nowadays it's like more of a thing, but I
yeah,
think
everyone's like, I'm pretty fucked
well,
up.
I
but
think
don't-
I think maybe people underestimate how a little bit psychologically can sometimes go a long way. Maybe that's
Yes.
maybe that's a better way to put it.
I
Wait,
do agree
All right,
with that.
question. I know we're gonna go probably into something, but I have a question. So, like, like boomers, right? That generation, they went through a lot of PTSD and like a lot of other bullshit and like shit that we went through, similar, if not worse, of shit that we had to go through. And you know how they always tell us to suck it up, and now everyone our age is like, I have trauma and all this shit. Do you think it's 'cause like more people are like, you have trauma? Like we're like people are telling you have trauma, so we're all like, oh, we have trauma. We're
Oh, like a
fucking-"
firm affirmation of
like
trauma.
an out almost.
What?
Like an out almost. It's like I don't have to anything that bad happens to me. I can point to as a traumatic event.
but
so
don't get me-
therefore
well,
I can
because people have told you have that, so
Right.
then you do that.
Or
So it's
just,
kind of
like,
like
you-
a
if you
placebo
went through
effect
this shit-
almost.
Yeah, well,
like
yeah.
I should feel that like this is more traumatic than it is, so I act as if it's more traumatic.
Yeah, because
than
it's
it
like
is.
life is about learning and growing and shit happening. Don't get me wrong, there are some shitty things where it's like that is gonna affect you mentally and physically as a person, right? But then it's like your parents split up and you got less attention. You know what I mean? It's like I get it. Everyone does react to things differently, but at a point, how much trauma is it? But like I guess I get it because like with boomers and even the generation, not millennials, but the generation right above that. I don't know what that is. X maybe.
I mean, I think the answer to your
They
original
they
question,
just push it down, so they're just angrier maybe.
I think the answer to your original question about like the age gap, like the difference of opinion on the question as far as like the age gap goes, the answer to that is kind of just like in people's ignorance of like not knowing. Because I mean, the thing I would address it to is just like people saying like, well, whenever I was your age, I bought a house and I did this, and then like those same people will look at the housing market and be like, oh, on my salary, I couldn't rent one of these houses type shit. Like it does kind of take that level of fucking going to see it for yourself to kind of learn it for yourself, because I feel like a lot of people do expect the world to be how it was whenever they were growing up type shit, even though it is completely different. But like they're seeing today's world how it is in their perspective. They don't know how to see it in a 20-year-old's perspective or a 15-year-old's perspective type shit.
It's tough because like inflation, and I get it, like minimum wage is different. But then, I mean, don't get me wrong, they were able to buy a house at a certain point, but then there was also like still a gap there.
Right.
And like poor during that point of time was still probably relatively a little bit worse than being poor now.
Well,
relatively worse.
Because being poor now, you can afford like some what would be considered luxury then.
You
But
can
again-
produce meat because it's, they do so much to it. You can produce meat cheaper now. So realistically, a poor person now could afford meat, where a poor person back then might only be able to afford literally bread. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like
that,
right?
but also it's like whenever you kind of bring into the, like, not to continue talking about it, but like the introduction of the internet, like the ignorance is bliss portion of life was no longer like allowed type shit. Like we entered into the age of the internet to where like if you get left behind, it's your fault. But it used to be very simple. Like you do what you can for your community, you do what you can for your family.
Yeah.
You have a very simple. The things that you have to work for, you don't have a comparison level. Like you might get a magazine or a newspaper or see like a TV show or something like to be able to compare it to that. But you don't have such a mass influx of people's lives that they're living. That you're a person too. Why couldn't you be living like that? Or why couldn't you be having that steak? Or why could we have such a much deeper influx of all of these different experiences that we're not having, to where it does add to that level of anxiety of like, am I gonna be all right? Am I gonna make it? Am I gonna be able to eat in 10 years? Like I don't fucking know. Like I don't really know if the world's gonna be the way I think it's gonna be in 10 years, and I don't have any way to prove that I'm gonna be safe or secure. So like I think a lot of that anxiety comes from that place, not the place that it used to come from, which is like, is my factory gonna get shut down and me be out of a job? Because like it used to kind of be that simple.
I'd say that would be like I see that as kind of like an in between, because a little bit before the factory setting, it was once again, I have no idea if I'm going to survive the day, let alone the season, because if my crop goes bad during this season,
I'm
because
fucked.
most people were what do you call it? Is
Farmers.
it subsistence farming,
Agriculture.
where you're providing mainly for your family.
Yeah.
You're not selling it. You're mainly providing for your family so you can eat, right? And you don't have extra things. And if you need extra things, you made them from the things around you.
Oh, you had a
So-
lot of kids.
And
Yeah.
again, even that is just like
'cause
talking
it's free
about
labor. Yeah, it's in reality like it's labor, like
And
kids are
even that
labor.
is talking about the person that's able or fortunate enough in that time to afford to be able to buy land be able to cultivate
Right.
those crops on.
Right. Well,
You know
well,
what I
even
mean?
if you go earlier before that, where you're discovering this land,
Right.
but your main focus is still, can we survive today, this
Right.
week? You know what I mean? So I would say like we've gone. So I would say, I mean, it's still like it's still a little bit better than that. But then when you reach the industrial industry, where in reality was not that long ago, like we were talking about with factories and stuff like that, like you reach the industrial industry, and then it quickly becomes a little bit more long term, I guess, like you were saying. It's
Mhm.
not like, man, do I have, like, I mean, it's definitely, do I have food today, right? Because they were starving, and the conditions weren't that good. But it's still different than, is my season going to be good for my
Right.
farm? You know what I mean? Like it's different than that. You have the job.
Yeah.
Like you have the
There's
job.
security
but-
in it, in
yeah.
that having that job.
And then there's difference
guess.
of, even at that time, the difference in the region you're at. Are you in Boston at that time? Because that's not a very good place to be.
You know,
At
on that
that
note,
time, you're working in a meat market or in a meat factory, and it's not going so well. So
Right.
you lived a little bit outside. You lived in maybe the suburbs would still be developing at that point, but you live, on a farm town. You're probably not doing so bad, actually, because there's not really anybody bothering you like they are today, where you have all the restrictions and like a lot of different things that even farmers are industrialized at this point.
oh, dude, most of them, yeah. So on that note, though, would you say like when people are like, we're in the end times now because of all this shit happening?
Nah, it's dumb.
I mean,
I don't-
they're not wrong, but they're not correct in the
The
way
end
that they
of,
think they are.
an
We're
era.
in the end of whatever they think that life is supposed to be, and we're entering into what
A
life
new era?
is. Whatever.
Yeah,
that-
maybe every apocalypse is just
Maybe
the
the
end of
end-
a generation.
maybe the end of their reality to a degree is upon us, but that doesn't mean the end of their life is upon us. You know what I mean? And
For
that's
human
kind of a
life.
different perspective. I mean, like, I've been different people in my own life. There's like the kid me, the teenage me, like the rising into being an adult, like the person I am now, the person I will be in 5 years. Like, I can't say any of those people are the same person, so it's hard to say that any of those people were living. It's hard to prove that any of those people were living in the same reality.
It's crazy though, because it's
To
like
a
everyone's
degree.
like, it's the end times, because on digital currency, or banks are crashing, wars happening. But I'm
Yeah,
like,
that
dude,
stuff
at one
is pretty
point,
scary,
but yeah, I'm like, banks didn't exist at one.
right?
So I mean, what like what would you base end times off of at that point? You know what I mean? And then I mean, at one point, there was way more war going on. There was war like every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
and
way
with the
more
banking
raging.
thing, we haven't really tried different ways of doing it.
Well,
Like we've been doing the same way. I mean, like the modern check and balance, like the modern check and debt system was started by the Knights Templar a long time ago. So it's like, that's not even like, I mean, it's a long time ago, but it's not that long ago, and we haven't tried any other form of banking than essentially what they created.
I mean, this is kind of what we were talking about the other day when we were discussing like the education system and how we all as a society pretty much understand that it was created to breed factory workers, but we still have it utilized on a daily basis, and the
still
changes to
factory
it are very
workers.
minimal. I mean, you're not
The
wrong,
form
but
of our
having
factories
that,
have changed, but they're still factories. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I could say as a restaurant worker, I still feel like I'm a factory worker.
but that's kind of what I'm saying is we have an understanding that this is just kind of a system that breeds your everyday worker and not education, which is what it should be breeding. But we don't necessarily have anything but minimal changes to certain portions of it. Usually it's funding that's the issue. But like what we were talking about the other day is like, man, our fucking high school that we went to had like a fucking some type of millions and millions of dollars put into a football stadium. It's like,
Oh yeah,
where
yeah,
the fuck did that
My
shit come
favorite.
from?
Yeah, Deer
And-
Park has a nice football stadium.
And could
these
you
days.
have not maybe cut down on a few of the lights and thrown some money to the science department? Like, what are we talking about here? Like,
Oh, for
whenever
sure.
it's in the paper how much they spend on that shit, it's like, am I supposed to feel good about this? Like,
Yeah, what about the STEM department?
Well, do you guys feel like the high school diploma carries any weight?
No.
I mean, I used to in the way that like people would talk about like the first in my family to get a high school diploma. But now I do think that that's more of like a bit of a brainwashing thing to think that you need some type of piece of paper to show certification that you got an education.
But it doesn't.
It doesn't.
You can't get a job with that anymore. It
Well, I
doesn't
mean,
mean
exactly.
I know people who've gotten GEDs and then still gone to college.
Yeah,
I know people
got a
that
degree.
haven't
No,
gotten
100%. It-
GEDs
like,
that
I
didn't go
know-
to college that
I know
are very
more than a few
successful. It's
people.
like
that did not graduate high school. They got their GED and then went on to do college the way the rest of the people do. Like, I mean,
Or
very,
people who have
and
gotten
very quickly
GEDs and
at that.
still started their own business.
exactly. Or
No, yeah, I
again,
mean, starting your own
never
business,
got
like-
GEDs and started their own business because it's not a necessity for success. It's just something that we were bred to think that we needed
To
for.
think it, yeah, but it
the next
doesn't. I
step.
mean, it holds absolutely no weight in my
Right.
opinion. At least, sorry. To me, it holds absolutely
I
no
mean, to
weight.
a degree,
Like,
it
there's
depends on
no-
what your route is and what you plan on doing. I mean, it's different for everybody.
Sure, I would want someone that's going to be a brain surgeon to have had good grades in high school. That would make me feel better.
Okay, I guess.
Like,
you know.
for sure. You know what I mean? Like, that would make
I'm
me
with you.
feel
Like, if
better,
it-
you know?
if there's-
if they went on to college
if I'm walking
and they were
into-
like, look, here's my entire history of credentials, I would pick the one that had great grades in high school above the one that
If-
had ass grades in high
If I'm
school.
on death row and I have a fucking lawyer coming in to literally save my life, I don't want it to be the frat guy that got through with a fucking C's degrees. Like, that's not the guy that I want in my courtroom.
My dad taught me everything I know.
Yeah.
But,
All right,
okay,
guys,
okay,
it's a wraps on
But
life.
think about, like, okay, so then it's like you want this fucking ornate, I mean, obviously this is a total 180 situation, but you want this super ornate painting done, and this dude's dad was a famous painter, and he's like, my dad taught me everything I know. I mean, you probably want that guy.
yeah, in that sense, yeah. I
You
mean,
know what I mean? Like,
that's a different
and
type of
that's just one way to put it. I mean, it could be welding, it could be construction, because construction used to be like a passed down, like a long time. It was a trade that was passed down. I mean, every trade was something that was passed down from father to son most of the time. But construction specifically, that was like, and carpentry and stuff, because it took a long time to learn that stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, trades. It's crazy because trades then were like so, like highly.
Because not everybody knew how to do it. You had to pass it down,
Yeah.
like it was passed down from family member to family member, or more nefarious ways. Are you wearing my mask now?
Mario. The Mario. Sought after, highly sought after. was what I
Yeah,
was-
for
trades were
sure.
highly
Yeah,
sought after.
definitely. Yeah, that's
But-
why I think like masonry, like, and the whole point of the Freemasons is the full circle is because people didn't used to know how to do that. Like, that wasn't common knowledge. I mean, like, look at the Notre Dame. You know what I mean? Like,
The Hunchback.
I mean, the building, the structure of the Notre Dame,
It's
or
like-
even the pyramids or St. Peter's Basilica and stuff. Those things were made a long time ago,
Prove it.
and they're actually not even that old. Conspiracy, allegedly.
Literally made it 5
In the
years
future,
ago,
though,
dude.
I think one of my goals is gonna be like when I get to a point where I'm throwing like events pretty pretty big ones. I know enough people. I want to throw like just a fuck you to the people who like secret shit like that. But yeah, dude, you gotta have a code to get in, and you gotta wear fucking masks and shit. And then fucking at the end of it, be like, fuck you guys. You guys wore masks and shit. You fucking.
You're not wearing one.
Yeah.
You're just like, you idiot.
Oh, you thought you were in a secret society, dude?
There's nothing secret about this.
Everyone was invited.
Let me ask you this:
No, I would throw a secret event though, just for funsies though. I would throw a secret
dude, that
event
would
with
be
a
all,
secret.
come on. That's,
I would
that,
throw
okay,
one.
look.
I was dicking around, but I would.
Here's
throw.
my thing with the secret societies. Tell me that shit's not going to be fun. You're part of a secret society, and it's actually starting to work out kind of well. Are they evil, or are they just like, dude, this is the truth? Like,
See,
this
but
is fun.
It
like,
is
this is what
fun
is
until you
like.
see somebody's
People
heart
don't know
get
who
pulled
we are.
out.
Everybody thinks we're, crazy, secret, devil worshippers, whatever. But
Everyone's
in
playing
reality, we're
Hungry
a bunch
Hippo.
of nerds. A bunch of nerds that
Everyone's
get
just
together
just,
with
like,
masks on.
playing fucking Smash, like.
It's fucking
I
playing
mean, like, come on,
dungeons.
bro.
Don't think-
It's perfect.
I'm not saying a secret society, but I would like to throw a secret underground party that like you have to go in 5 knocks and then be like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Like, oh shit, yeah, dude, You're
I
in.
do think.
They have those. What is it?
I
It's
do
called
kind
a
of think
s- speakeasy.
speakeasies.
Yeah.
I do think running a speakeasy would be kind of fun. Like I've
But
always
you have to wear a
thought kind
mask
of.
and shit.
But
I've
they're
always thought
different
running
now
a bar
because
would be
you
kind of
just
like a sick
Google-
retirement job. What?
They're different now because you just go to the website for the
Well,
speakeasy.
yes, but I'm talking
know?
about like kind of a traditional speakeasy. But what I'm saying is
Yeah,
I've
bring
always
that
thought
shit
about
back.
running a bar like as a retirement gig. Like it seems like it's just like a kind of a dope way to continue like communicating and connecting with the community that you're in type shit, while also being able to run your own business and da 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 da. But running a speakeasy would be dope because it is that level of like not just I think secrecy is kind of the wrong word, but because it's like it's not a secret. People know about it, but it's like concealed from the like surface of society. If
I
that
think,
makes sense.
It's you have to know somebody,
To a degree,
but that's what I want.
right?
That's what I'm talking.
So
about.
that's actually like what occultism is. Occultism.
Are
Occult
we
actually
joining a
means
cult? Are we
secret.
creating a cult?
No, occult, like OCCULT, like a cult. Yeah, no, that's what I think. I'm pretty sure that's what a cult means is secret, like secret knowledge. That's why. So, like any of these secret societies, they're a cult because it's just they don't tell people what they do.
Or it's just forbidden knowledge. That
yeah,
sounds
occultism
better.
is basically secret knowledge. So it's
Right.
basically like cultism is
You
like
just don't tell everybody. You
It's
have
like
to
all-
have somebody hand it down to you.
yeah. So when people think of occultism, they think of like witchcraft and all this shit. But it's really essentially all the knowledge that we weren't given.
Yeah. Well, that like
grand
you don't trust everyone with it. You find out if someone is worthy of being told the knowledge, and then when you have decided that, you tell them, and then they have to do the same thing down the line, basically.
Yeah, occultism pretty sick though.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, did you have something else besides the Illuminati? Was that like?
I was gonna move on to occultism, just
We're
because I
here,
thought it
dude.
was a good Halloween. I thought it
We're
was a
in
good like
there.
Halloween trope. You know what I mean?
We're in there like swimwear.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's like a big wedgie. That's like a real big wedgie.
Yeah, that's
I was
exactly
also
what that is.
I was watching this other show about how like the 80s totally not connected, about how the 80s was the first like generation to be brainwashed. Not necessarily brainwashed, but kind of be conned with toys, because basically during the Reagan administration, it used to be illegal before to have ads from children's stuff be connected with toys in the same thing, right?
What do you mean?
Like so when I believe it was Reagan, if not after, but I'm pretty sure it was Reagan, that made it so that now all of a sudden it was you could have the Power Rangers and you could have an ad for Power Ranger toys right after the show got to commercial. That used to not be allowed.
So you can't advertise for the thing that is coming out of commercial, or I guess the show. So like for instance, if it's like Powderpuff Girls, same thing. If like
Power.
the suck a dick.
Powderpuff Girls.
They were huffing powder, dude.
I actually love that show. I have a Powerpuff Girls
But as
t-shirt.
soon as
Who
like
doesn't love Power? You can try to act like
Fucking
you don't.
epic
That
as fuck.
that shit was they were
Everybody
beating.
loves Powerpuff
but as soon as
Girls.
Mojo Jojo
Uh,
gets his ass beat and they
Mojo
fucking
Jojo.
go to commercial, then they can't run they couldn't before that run a toy campaign for the
That was my understanding of it, yes. And
Okay.
then the Reagan administration changed that. So then all of a
Fucking
sudden
Reagan.
out of nowhere you have the first generation of kids, which would be kids born in the 80s. You have the first generation where not only do they have Thundercats on TV and then you're immediately separated from that world. You now had Thundercats on TV, and you had that relationship with them and the villain, right? That was on the show, whoever the Thundercat villain was, or He-Man, or whoever you want to pick. And not only that, but that was the first time that it continued on into the home where you had the action figure and you were making those personal connections and making them a very personal thing in your backyard. In mud and like the way everybody did when they were a kid. Well, to us it was normal, but before that it wasn't so normal.
You're saying
know what I
like
mean?
instead of the script ending on the show and you taking
create
away
new
that,
quests
now
and
you've
new-
created a new
and
fantasy
in your
out
head
of
and
that
you become
character.
much more personally connected to the character. right? And so this would be why there's so much 80s nostalgia. And apparently Star Wars totally started this, because then they started selling a bunch of Star Wars caricatures and action figures and yada yada after the first Star Wars movies came out. Then you had, the stormtroopers and stuff like that and everything like that, and Darth Vader and stuff like that. But people had much more personal, close connection with these characters. So now you have so much 80s nostalgia, and what comes out now? The Super Mario movie, because of nostalgia and all these remakes and Star Wars
dude, those
reboots.
toys are fucking booming, dude.
You know what I mean? But it's more than that. Even I think they did some type of Thundercats reboot or something like
Dude,
that.
I hate fucking honestly, dude. I think that shit is the worst.
The reboots.
I do like the Super Mario.
Our
Bros.
generation
movie.
hates it.
Yeah.
I've noticed that a lot of us don't like the idea that we're not getting anything new.
Yeah, bro, because it's I'm tired of seeing the same shit we already saw, bro. We want original shit. Because, when we were growing up, we were getting a lot. Hey, fuck you.
Well, and we went through multiple facets of it, look at Star Wars. We had the original Star Wars, then we had the prequels, and now we got this crap.
Yeah,
and
but
nobody likes it.
it's
not.
it's a lot of it's overplayed. But I mean, we were also used to getting the movies right before us, 80s, 90s, early, and then even early
Like the Ninja Turtle
2000s.
movies.
Yeah, I mean, the last good movie I'd say I really saw that really I know some people didn't like it, but that I thought was really good. I didn't see Everything Everywhere All at Once. I heard that movie was really good. I do want to see
that, dude.
My buddy Derek loves that movie. Swears by it. Says everybody needs to watch it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna watch that. I've heard nothing but good things, but the other I haven't seen that, so I wanted to preface that because I feel like anyone who has seen it probably would say that was a good movie. But Arrival was probably the last movie I watched.
Arrival.
Where
Which
I was
one is that?
that's
with the
an original
dinosaurs?
concept. Yeah,
Oh! Where
not
she
the last one
learns
I
the
liked, but
languages forward and
yeah,
backward.
where I was they took a concept and made it original. Everyone's
I
seen
love
a
that
fucking,
movie. I
Yeah,
love that
everyone's
movie.
seen an alien movie. You know what I mean?
But they
whenever I saw the
did
preview,
it differently.
exactly.
'Cause that wasn't really an alien movie. It was an alien movie, but the
It was also
concept of it
psychological.
wasn't about.
Yeah,
The concept of the concept of it was about being able to utilize these weird levels of the human mind to be able to turn time into almost a language, and then being able to manipulate that language, therefore manipulating time to your own benefit to a degree.
Yeah,
That concept is fucking incredibly strange and incredibly weird, but so cool. To actually see done well. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So when I watched the preview, I remember I was like, "Oh, fuck, another alien invasion movie." I was like, "How many?" It was like that. I was already tired of
They
shit like
set
that.
it up like that.
I was like, how many? Whatever.
Yeah. Well, and in the trailers before it
That's
came
what I was
out,
gonna
everybody
say.
was like, "Oh, it's it's another alien
It makes
movie
it
coming
seem
out."
like a fucking an Armageddon type of movie. They're here
Not
type
even
shit.
close. It's more of a
what are
drama.
they gonna do?
Dude, I watched it and was blown away. I was like, "Holy shit!"
Great movie. I love
the
that
soundtrack, just the storyline. So that was the last movie. I was like, "That's a fucking concept that hasn't really been done like that before." And I mean, once again,
Not
I've
like
seen-
not like
that. So I mean, there's not many movies now that are coming out in theaters. You're like, wow, it's a movie. Don't get me wrong. There's some horror movies. People are like, that was a great horror movie, but I'm like,
Shutter Island. Did you like it?
I thought it was good, but it wasn't my Shutter Island personally was my favorite. I did fucking what's the one? It's Leonardo again, but it's
Oh, and that came out almost at the exact same time.
Inception?
Inception. I did like
Yeah.
Inception. I did.
Yeah,
like Inception.
how weird is it that they came out almost at the exact same? So obviously they filmed them both at the same time because those
Yeah,
movies
it's
came
different.
out in the same year.
It's
And
different
they're
directors.
both Leo as main characters, so they
Shutter
had
Island
to
was
have
good
filmed
though.
them at
Shutter
the
Island
same
was
time.
good though. I do want to say.
But they have similar endings.
yeah,
Kind of.
It's both.
no, they
it's-
do.
They're
It's
both.
like that cliffhanger.
They're both.
like-
You decide. You know what I mean? They're both. You decide.
Yeah, but
what
I
happens
think
at
one
the
of
end.
them is much more distinct than the other. I feel like the Inception one is much more all right, well, what the fuck is going on?
Well, do you think the top falls or do you think it doesn't fall?
I mean,
The spindle top,
I think the the concept is that it almost doesn't matter because
Exactly.
in either way, that kind of it's left up to the interpretation type
Right.
shit. For Shutter Island, it's like, nah, this motherfucker's crazy.
well, but it still leaves the option of your interpretation of is it better to be crazy or not? At that point, if he did what he did, because they intentionally make his crime is kind of gray, right? Like his wife kills his kids.
Right.
He gets very upset and, I guess in that version of it kills her, right? I mean, she killed his kids, right? So he freaks out and yada yada. Very purgatorial situation, I would say. And then on the other hand of it, he's not crazy. I mean, like I still think it's very like the whole point is both of them are completely left up to interpretation. And it's weird because they're both Leo movies and they both came out at the same time. That was my point.
That's fair.
That they also have that aspect to them, and they're both Leo, and they both came out literally. I think I'm
not gonna lie,
pretty sure in the same year.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they
no,
came out
they're around the
year.
same time. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm just an old man with shit like that in general. Just because I'm like, I hate being like that already, but I'm just like, man, everything is just because I feel like everything's for views. Basically like what's gonna bring us the most money, and then like the risks are a lot less than what they once were.
See, but I just
So we're watching. Every time I watch something, I'm just like, it's good, but like,
I like whenever there's a way to
So you
tell
don't
what
like what they did
with what?
with the Leo movies?
No, I like
I
those.
was sorry.
I'm
Okay,
saying like
okay, okay.
currently though. Like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
newer movies. I
Oh,
just
right,
feel like
right,
there's
okay.
less
Sorry.
stuff like actually being done where it's like you're like, oh shit.
Sorry, I
yes,
wasn't sure
but what I was gonna say is while that's true, I can still respect the things that are being made for certain reasons. Like Avatar 2, it's like the storyline in like
They're making another Avatar movie.
they already did and it's out.
Avatar 2's already out. They got like 3 more on the way. I don't watch.
Sorry, I was thinking Avatar Airbender.
No.
Sorry.
I don't
That
watch
I
Avatar.
I need
for
that
the-
yesterday, but
I don't watch Avatar for the storyline.
that's my point. Is that it's for the cinematic experience, for the view, like the visual experience that you're having. So like whenever somebody can, like whenever James Cameron can kind of step into that field of like it's not the storyline and like what happens in this world isn't as important as making this world look beautiful and making it look stunning on the fucking on
Because
screen.
it's
You know what
supposed
I
to be
mean?
a visual experience, so he's not
Exactly.
So concerned
That's
about-
lost
So-
upon a lot of people.
So
though.
I don't
Like,
think there's anything wrong with that. Is what I'm saying. Like I don't need somebody to like kind of address a new concept so well. As long as we have the understanding as like the viewer, just the way they have the understanding as the director, that this is not supposed to be that.
But
You know what I mean?
that's different than it being just like a movie where it's like we're just gonna
That is
replay
true.
this shit that we've seen a million times.
That
But
is true.
I think you could do it better like, in the form of something like the movie. I don't know if y'all have seen it, Valhalla. You know what I'm talking about? There's barely any dialogue in the whole movie. They
True.
almost don't talk at all. And
True, but that's also like I feel like that was like a studio.
visually stunning though.
I thought that was a studio decision for them to like not have to be as historically accurate. If they add in a lot of dialogue, then there's a lot of more holes that you can have for that story. I feel like.
I think
You know what I'm trying to say?
I do, but I don't think, in my opinion, I do not think that was the case. I think it was a thing of you want people to implement their own psychology onto the movie, like you're wanting people to project almost, and kind of like learn something about theirself maybe, because sometimes when you have too many words, and whether it be a comic, a novel, or a movie. I think if you have too many words, then you're starting to take away from people's own imaginations, and they can't have that suspension of disbelief or learn anything about their own character because they're learning about your character and what you think and what your words are and what, so I don't know. I think sometimes silence speaks a lot more volumes, in especially movies.
But I'd say even then though, that's like an artistic like what's the word? Artistic. Ah, shit, dude. I'm drawing so many blanks today. Ridiculous.
I mean, I get where you're coming from in the way that like it is tough to kind of see people use the same tropes, but I do think that that's pretty much like genre based. It's like these tropes are like, it's like, what are you supposed to do in a rom-com, or what are you supposed to do in a horror film? You know what I mean? Like there are so many things that you
yeah,
can
but you
kind
can
of
come
like.
up with you can come up with a refreshing idea. You don't have to do the same exact.
I agree.
You have do we have to do another fucking one? You were saying that they were coming out with another movie. We already did Star Wars. We were talking about Star Wars. How they already did more Star Wars. They were gonna do.
What, the Avatar, like the Airbender?
I don't think
I
they're
hope
gonna
we
do
never
they're
get
doing
that
another
because
Avatar.
that was
That's
terrible.
a different. It's not gonna be
It'd be different.
It's a reboot, but it's
But
not
like-
a
It's like,
continuation.
okay, let's just keep trying at the same things we've already made.
I think
That I'm not opposed to because the first one was like good, but there's improvements you can make to it. So like if there is a live action way to like depict something better, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like I would attribute it, and this will be controversial.
I also hate the live actions most of the time. I don't. I'm
of what-
tired.
of
I've
the
already.
animes?
Dude,
It's terrible.
the animation is its own art form. I don't need a live action.
Yeah, I
But
don't- I
stop
don't
giving
want
me
that.
the fucking live. Give me an original movie.
The Full Metal
Stop making
Alchemist
the
was
same
worst.
movie we've already
But
seen.
is it
Full
is
Metal
it
Alchemist was terrible.
is
The
it
live action
arguable
was
to say-
fucking made me want to kill
is it
myself.
arguable to say that a lot of those animations are probably behind some of those live actions, like funding, like thinking that we did so successful on this animation, shouldn't we do like something in the live action type shit? I don't think it's purely a studio decision to be like, oh shit, people are one what's it called, One Piece
One
fans.
Piece was good.
well,
One Piece was
yeah.
We
so-
should do a live action. I don't think it's just the studio like trying to like kind of make more money. I think it's a lot of these animes like, well, we're leaving a lot of money on the table by not doing some live action.
What
shit,
they're
you know
looking
what I mean?
at
So, like,
is they're like statistically, if we make another season and reboot the show animation, then people are gonna be like, oh, why'd they make more? Whereas
That-
they're like, what we could do is feed off of people's nostalgia mindset
I hate
and
that.
make a live action of the original season
that
and
it's-
feed off of their
and you-
nostalgia
you
and, be
also
like,
don't
oh,
have to
now you
write
get
new
to see it
episodes.
live action.
And
And it's like, I
everyone
don't
usually
need to.
hates it.
Like, I don't. No, they're all terrible. They're
But,
all
I mean, it's
terrible.
also like the kind of the idea of like fucking what's it called?
The only one I like
the
was
on
the
ice
Spawn movie.
shit. Like whenever they do like movies on ice.
Well, that's
you know what I
kind of
mean?
cool though. That's
It's
different.
kinda cool,
that's
but it's
different.
like it's
very
not
different.
That's,
It
that's
is
a
different.
physical. That's like
Dude, you're
that's-
going out on a date night, like maybe like
To
in
the
a
theater.
not even sometimes on ice is sometimes
Yeah,
you know
yeah, yeah.
out in a park or something. You know what I mean? Like
those are
it is-
acrobats.
So
Yeah,
it's
those
a
are
live.
acrobats.
It's a live event. I'm not taking anything away from that, but what I'm saying is the depiction
That's like
of it
saying
is not writing. They're not writing anything. They're just taking musicals or whatever songs from those things and then just performing it on ice. So it's kind of the same thing as like.
They're
But
not just performing it on ice.
remove.
That is
the-
exactly what they're doing.
remove
I'm
the
not taking
play.
anything away from the performance, but it is performing that thing on ice. That
But
is
they,
exactly
they
what
add
that
different
is.
stuff. And usually they sing and
Right.
they'll do like tricks and shit.
That is part of the performance. They're performing all of that. I'm not saying you're dissecting what I'm saying. That is the performance. It is on
Exactly.
all. It
That's
is
a whole
also
nother
on
layer.
ice.
It's a
So
whole
what they're
nother-
doing is they're performing on ice. It's not a whole other thing. That is the whole thing.
But what I'm saying is take the theatrics away from it, remove the lines, remove the costumes, and watch what's happening on the ice. That is equally still amusing.
I
So
agree.
what they're doing is just
Adding that
adapting it
into
to
it.
it and just being like, all right, now this is the theme we're doing for this ice skating show.
I agree.
You know what I
and-
mean?
I guess what I'm saying is to take the same thing and direct it into like Broadway. Instead of writing a Broadway original, you can just do fucking Cinderella on Broadway. You know what I mean? It's like that's an older thing that is just being reintroduced so that they have something to do on a Friday night. You know what I mean? Like that's
But
kind of what I'm getting at.
That's different than releasing a whole movie that's the same shit that's already been done. Because that's
To
like
a degree,
Broadway is like a Las, like Las
Especially
Vegas
if you're
or-
ruining it, like Disney.
Yeah, Broadway's like,
Though,
but
because-
Broadway's Broadway's just like an art form that was before.
So is going to the theater. You going to the theater with your family or your friends. It used to be an event. It used to be the
I
the
think it
thing to
definitely,
do.
as a family
So,
that
like-
we still go to the theater, it is definitely still an event. It's
And
definitely
Yeah.
so
still special.
that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is
Why do you
like,
have to make the live actions?
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the live actions are going to happen no matter what. What I'm saying is that not comparable to these other things where they're just taking the same
I don't think
art
so.
and adding it into either a live performance or on ice or da 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 da. How so?
I don't. Usually,
doing-
the
they're-
I would put it
Drop
on
in
the
the
fact
comments,
that
you guys.
typically the quality is just downhill every time. I mean, it's just that there wasn't as much effort into it. It just seems like an effortless money grab. Like we're gonna make live action because people will watch it, and they might not like it either, but they'll watch it the first time, and that's what makes them the money.
And no one that's
So-
doing it on ice is like, this. People are gonna love this one. You know, like they're like, we love to perform
It's
on
for the
ice.
it's for the
But you're
it's for
talking
the
about
figure
the
skaters.
but you're talking about the intention. I'm talking about what it is. Is like what it is that they're just taking the concept of what it is and turning it into a full studio audience, or in this case a live action shoot or whatever. I do agree that the intention behind it is definitely a money grab, no matter what
I guess we're
situation you're
talking
putting
just
into
bare
it.
bones.
But what it is
if you're
is
talking
that.
at the most
it's not
basic
creative,
form
is what
of
I'm
it,
saying.
yeah. If we're talking about the most
but
basic form, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like the intention. We're talking about how the audience feels. We're talking about what the whole thing is as a whole. As like we're not talking. If you do bare bones in the sense of like,
But to
yes, it is just the same thing into a different form. But like what we're talking about is like.
But a lot of people do like some of the live action stuff. So to say that their audience isn't spoken
As a
for at that level.
majority is pretty low.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't.
the
I don't
ratings and
know
scorings
anyone
are
that
pretty
likes-
low. Yeah,
I know
it's
one
not.
person. I know one person that likes the what is it? The pirate one. Fucking
One Piece.
One Piece. I know
Well,
one
Piece was good.
person.
One Piece was good.
I did hear that out of the
I'm
live
sorry, but-
animations of animes, that was the best one. Oh my
Like
gosh.
you're arguing against your point by saying that One Piece was good.
No, yeah, for that one anime show, for
I'm
that
not-
one live action.
But that's
But the
like,
rest of them are terrible.
again. But that's perspective based, no? Because on your perspective, One Piece wasn't good, but you know one person that was thought it was. He says One Piece is good, so that's two people. What I'm saying
Okay,
is that
yeah,
like
fair, but-
it's a perspective thing, and it's also a numbers thing at that level. So is it not fair to say that it is kind of on that same level of content,
A
or
little bit, yes.
art, or to a
Well, we
degree?
could just One Piece live action rating got a 4 out of 5 and 85%. Give me another live
Full
action.
Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal.
Alchemist. ALCH.
When did the live action for that come out? It was like a long time ago?
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm
no. That's what I'm saying. Like, generally speaking, no one likes them.
28%.
Okay, so it's 1-1. It's at this point.
Okay. Death Note.
Live action?
Yeah.
Death Note.
Why don't you look up how many animes have had live actions with good ratings?
Rating.
That might be a
There
better
was
list.
one that was like, it's like a thing where these high school students get put on.
That one got
this
70%.
island.
Boom. So you
That's
guys
still
are
let-
still kind of wrong at this point.
Oh, no.
I feel like if y'all
70
have,
is higher than 50, so at that rate, more than 50% of the
Hey,
fans
I'm
like.
going to use the restroom, you guys. You guys talk that one over. I'm going to use the restroom.
I don't know. I guess we got away from the point, but I guess what we were talking about initially is that it is disappointing how there aren't new concepts being created in film or
just
even really
repurposed.
in anime to a degree. It's like a lot of these
I
kind
think
of
I think anime
things have
makes
been-
it. I don't think it's like particularly more than anyone else, but I think anime makes
They play
it
their part.
extremely obvious.
right.
Because it's like all you have now is like league animes, you know, like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm part of this team or this school or this, class or like whatever it is. It's
Or just
always
doing the
it's always
anti
this
that.
intro to a new team or league or school or class or however you want to put it. And it's like, I'm doing this for my friends. And you used to have like a big variety in anime and how different they were.
Damn.
And you used
How
to
long was
have
that like
this,
that?
but you used to have this big variety. Like, I mean, when you look at '80s animes, they're all very, very, very different. And then you get to '90s, they're still pretty different. And then you get to 2000s, they start to get pretty similar, and the hero tropes are starting to get a little bit the same. And then you get into where we are now, and they're pretty much virtually all the same storyline with different quirks. Like, you have the same characters, they look different, maybe they have a different voice actor. Generally speaking, they're kind of like the same. And that's why I don't watch anime anymore. I've
I feel that.
completely given up on it, absolutely.
So I typed in, why is live action anime so bad? And it said the action scenes in anime with their supernatural powers and epic battles are difficult to recreate in live action, often resulting in subpar fight scenes that don't capture the essence of the original. I see, as somebody that's not super like in the anime world, is anime just like mainly fight scenes?
No, it's mainly
no, there's
fillers.
a lot of story. Well, yeah, there's a lot of storyline, But the one thing I will hate
Because if
about
that's the biggest like complaint about is that the fight scenes aren't as realistic as they are in the animes, and it's like
it's hard to replicate that. But what I will say, one thing I do hate about anime is like when people are like, dude, it's just filler. I'm like, so just storyline. Like a lot of anime people just love
hold
the
on. I would
fight
argue with
scenes.
that. The filler implies that it's not like
Necessary.
if you removed it from the storyline, it wouldn't actually make a difference. Like, so
Okay.
it's an episode that you're like, wait, what was the point of that? It was just this side thing to make me like the character more. You know what I mean? Like, it's an episode about them fishing with someone you barely see in the rest of the season. And you're like, oh, now I know the other character more. And it's like, cool, I got that one experience. What? Like,
That's fair.
That's what a filler is. A filler is it's just there to fill an episode because they had to have a season last so many episodes.
That's also true. Also, one of the only remakes that I actually thoroughly really enjoy. It wasn't a remake. It was actually a prequel, technically. Was the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Netflix original?
Wait.
They did it with puppets, but it was also CGI. It's like the puppets,
No
but
way.
CGI.
I love the original movie. I didn't know they made another one.
You didn't. It's a prequel. They already canceled it. They won't do another one because it took so much work because they did the puppets,
Right.
but they also did CGI. Honestly, one of the best shows I've ever seen. One of my favorite shows all time.
Seriously?
One of my favorite shows all time.
Okay, let me tell you.
You should
this.
watch it 'cause,
This
like,
is
the
giving me a
story- the
nostalgia
story-
shoot.
Okay.
I had the Dark Crystal on as a disc on my PSP.
That's nuts.
Like, cause you could buy movies for PSP.
Yeah, I
So you had
remember.
the
I
game.
had a PSP.
You know what I mean? They were
I
the,
had a
the-
PSP.
You remember
yeah.
how it was those white discs that
Just
had
the
the
small
white
ones.
border on them?
Yeah.
And it had I had it on PSP as a movie.
Bro, I checked too on
And
PSP.
so the fact that you told me that, I have so many memories of watching that movie in the car or watching it. Like, that's a big nostalgia moment for me, was watching that movie in different situations.
And you haven't seen the show?
And no,
Oh,
I didn't
you'll
even
love-
know that was a
dude,
thing. I
no,
didn't even
dude,
know that was a thing.
I'm not
That's
gonna lie
like,
to you.
like that would be something that I would like to go back and watch.
Every comment you can ever see about it says it's 10 out of 10. Everyone says it's like, even if you love the original, you'll love
But
this.
people
like,
really needed to see Captain Marvel appear on the big screen. That's what people really wanted to see.
Yeah, dude, the fact that it got canceled though is like,
In their ass Witcher show.
look, hold on. I'm going to look at the rating of this real quick. It got
big apologies, guys.
5 out of 5, and then IMDb it was 8.4, and then Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 90%. So 4.7 out of 5 stars. Which, giving all ratings, that's it's nearly a 5-star rating. That's like,
I wouldn't assume they would make a bad version of that. Like, there's no way if you're doing the Dark Crystal, you're gonna make a bad version.
it was
I don't see that
prequel.
happening.
It was prequel though. So, dude, literally, so the storyline, the visual aspect of it, absolutely, and the way they did it, stunning.
That's
great.
awesome because
No,
I
I loved it.
loved the Dark Crystal. I thought it was awesome.
I try to tell. I'm glad you liked that because I've
my
told
bro-
so
my
many
older
people
brother,
about it.
My older brother Christian showed it to me because, to be fair, we both had our PSPs and I stole it from him.
And I love fantasy stuff. There's not a lot of fantasy stuff like that these days. People don't take a limb on fantasy movies. I
Like
feel like
real
anymore.
fantasy, like
Yeah,
real,
dude.
yeah.
It makes me sad, dude. Like back then, you had like Labyrinth, bro. You had like the Dark Crystal. There was more
What was
fantasy-driven
it,
style movies.
That it was like a weird sequel to Alice in Wonderland. There was one for that too. I think it was called Tin Man or something. But,
Was it-
but it was
no,
early,
wouldn't that-
early
I think
2000s.
Tin Man, wouldn't
It was
that
like
be
Tin
early
Man is
2000s.
the Yellow Brick Road bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Not Alice in Wonderland.
Wizard
sorry,
of Oz.
Wizard
Sorry,
of Oz. Wizard of Oz. My bad.
But like, even if you look at that, like they don't make fantasy movies like that where you're like, holy shit. They're kind of trippy, but they're like good storylines. Like wow, like even
I
Lord
love
of the
that
Rings.
stuff. I love that
Lord of the
stuff.
Rings, great.
Imagine watching that stuff while you're just fucking blazed. You'd
Like,
probably have
here's-
such a good time.
Like Harry
watching it.
Potter. Come on.
But here's the thing is that like as much as we wish that we still had stuff like that, we have the understanding of why we don't have stuff like that.
Fantasy movies?
Well, not just fantasy movies, but actually like good content and anything that's not just like. So I guess what my point is that we have the understanding that a lot of these movies are being funded by like Disney or
Yeah.
fucking like related companies that are focused on not just getting the box office hits, but also how can we turn this into t-shirts, and how can we turn this into toys, and how can we turn this into fucking tabletops and bedspreads and all kinds of shit, because people are going to be fans of these characters. That's why a lot of fucking shit is so like character development based, so that you do fall in love with the character, not the world building or the storylines. Just like you fall in love with the
that's
character
exactly
itself.
It. People fall in love with the character, not there's no effort.
And so
for the
if
world.
that's the case, then they got you, because then you'll always be interested in anything that character's in. Fucking Disney Channel shows it was as easy as a crossover event to get every kid in America on that fucking episode.
Hey,
you know what I
bro,
mean?
the
Like,
crossovers went crazy.
and
they
then
were hard.
action figures make it
Then-
personal.
and then
Like
but
we were
they- and
talking
they
about
They
before.
were hard, but that's the thing is that we fell in love with the characters. So now we have the understanding that like all of these studios are just going to be very centric based on like, oh, this character's hitting this year. Bet let's make another 3 fucking movies with that character in
Well,
it.
and I think they're in the business of predicting what type of character will hit.
Well, that's the focus
You know,
groups and
I
shit
think
like that they
that's
do on
the
a
other
daily
part of it.
basis, and it's like that's the portion of the like movie industry that we don't really get to see, that we do understand that exists, that we fucking that's the part that we despise, because it's like that's really driving. It's not that writers aren't creative; it's that the writers that are creative have characters that don't sell toys.
Yeah,
And-
no, exactly. Because they're
and
asking you have
scripts
to have
aren't
the
getting
money
approved.
after
Right.
the tickets,
exactly
right? Because you can't just have the tickets. That's divvied out. Granted, the theaters these days make almost nothing from it, but it's divvied out to the streaming services.
I mean,
the
now it's all about-
actors, the production in general. The company is not making a lot from the initial release. They're making money from everything after that.
Now it's all about representation. They don't even care about a storyline anymore.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's just like
so that's
how
what I
many
was
people
gonna
can we
say.
represent?
I was
How many
gonna bring
different
that up.
groups can we put into this movie or show and
yeah.
try to make them feel respected or represented in some way? It's like I don't give a fuck about selling toys anymore. I just want people to think that we're a good company. you know?
I was gonna bring that up because I was gonna say I think Disney is worse than other people about it because, and this is just a theory I have, because they've been called out so many times because they're. You got to think about it. They're such an old company. They've lasted through every era, and so of
So they're
course,
Mickey Mouse.
like culture is. If you go back far enough, they have a bunch of racist shit. They have a
Yeah.
bunch of sexist shit. They have,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Because their
Disney-
company goes back into where that was
Walt Disney,
normalized,
Acceptable,
right?
Walt Disney hated Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was super anti-Semitic. Oh, he was a bunch of things. We could get into that. That's a whole other thing on its
Yeah, Walt
own.
Disney.
Yeah, we should know.
But
We love kids though.
the point I'm making though is that I think they feel they've been called out for it now so many times. I think they're extremely afraid of trying to be original because they have to please people because they're ashamed of their past.
That's a good.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
I actually think that is a thing they think about when they're coming out with all of this new production. Is that like, okay, well, we have to make sure this does not reflect the old Disney.
right.
Like, we have to make sure. Like,
It's a very
or
much-
you could come up with an original concept, but they're like, we can't. We need to do the things
Look,
we used to do,
it's very much
and we
like
need
the
to
Bud Light
correct it so
campaign type
people
shit.
see us differently.
Disney is nothing without Pixar.
I would
Okay, but
agree.
but so I didn't know this until today. Disney
DreamWorks
has
too.
owned.
Yeah.
Oh, they've owned like 6 different movie production companies. So there's a lot of old movies from the 90s and 2000s and early 90s that are all locked up in Disney archives because they're what was that? What's that one company where
characters, too.
it's like the flash that runs across the screen and then there's the blue dot with the
the fucking
with the thing that runs through it? That's owned by Disney. So a lot of those
I know which
movies,
one you're talking about. I
like
don't
from a
remember the
lot of
name of
these
it.
different companies, they're actually owned by Disney, and Disney won't put them on a streaming service. So it's not going to be on Disney Plus. It's not
Mhm.
going to be on Netflix because they own it, and it's stuff that they don't want other people to. They're like, we don't want people watching that anymore.
Right.
So if you want to watch some of your old favorite movies from when you were growing up, when you were like a kid,
You got a physical
you can't
copies.
find them.
Yeah.
Like, and they're closer and closer every year to never being seen again. You know what I mean? Like one of my, I love
a
this
good
old
point.
'90s movie, and it's literally just called Merlin.
Mm.
I couldn't name some of the actors in it, though there is a bunch of actors that were in a bunch of other things from the '90s, and you can't find it anywhere. But I have it on VHS.
Is there like a scene in it that's like
no,
bad?
no, not really. No.
Relatively bad or something?
There's nothing really crazy in it. It's, granted, I would say it's probably mostly white actors. But
Okay.
it doesn't come across like that was like any type of intentional. Like, I mean,
I like how like
mean-
that's kind of because Merlin, it's about like the wizard, right?
yes,
Right. So like in that world, I mean, not to be stereotypical or anything, but like I don't know a lot of like I can speak for my own race. I don't know a lot of Mexicans that are into fucking magic. So like it's
Really? Wait, seriously?
seriously. Well, not like I'm not saying like street magic. I'm saying like wizardry.
Oh, you mean like your traditional nerdy like wizardry,
like spell casting
Right.
and like dragon
Potter
hunting and Harry Potter
Harry
magic,
Potter magic.
wizardry
Yeah.
type of thing. Like I don't know a lot of minorities that are like really into that side of life. So whenever you have a Merlin portrayed as a white dude and his people around him
Yeah.
that believe in his magic and his magical powers are also white people, I tend to think that that's probably closer to reality than we're willing to admit.
well, you know what? That made me think of something real quick because a lot of I would see, like, if you look into history a lot, then you could see magic as a form of liberation for maybe some of the more Germanic peoples. You know what I mean? Because at one point you had the church was ruling almost all of your what you would say like Caucasian countries. You know, like your Germanic countries, like Germany. You know, your Icelandic countries and Ireland and stuff like that. The church was ruling all of it, and they were so cruel to people. It's like, you know, and then there was this big witchcraft thing. So you could see how they would start to see those people as heroes. Whereas I think in like Spanish culture and stuff like that, I do believe it's like, I mean, you have like Dia de los Muertos and like stuff like that, and there's positive aspects to it, but there's a lot
Dark
of like
magic.
negative view
Like voodoo
on,
type of
on
magic.
voodoo.
like
well,
some
well,
Cajun shit.
voodoo
I mean,
is
voodoo's
not
actually
necessarily bad.
very
Yeah.
misrepresented.
Yeah,
in a
voodoo
lot
is
of
very
ways.
misrepresented. I think, as far as I know,
Like
it's
magic
actually
in
a
general
form
is.
of Christianity, actually. Like Gnosticism,
confirm
like
nor
if you know
deny.
what Gnosticism is, like
I know
it's
what
like it's like an
agnosticism-
offshoot of Gnosticism or some type of, but a lot of voodoo is like they don't see it bad.
I
Like,
think
they really don't see
in
it bad.
general, a lot of magic is negative. Like,
But isn't it interesting how like
but magic.
anything that we don't understand, we either attribute to either like religion or something that's like negative, like demonic or whatever, da da da. But it's like we have no purpose for seeing any of it like that. It's just how it's been painted to us in the past and how we address it once it's come across us, type shit. You know what I mean?
And magic is, I mean, realistically, it's honing in on the natural elements and trying to figure out how we can use that to the best of our abilities.
Even mentally, just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
simply like psychologically.
Yeah, a lot of it is different stuff. Like Wicca is, you know, which is the religion of witchcraft, so to speak.
That's very new though. That's not.
Wicca is
It doesn't go back very far. It's a very new thing.
how new
Like
would you say?
like
I'd say that's
so witchcraft is not really like witchcraft in itself is it's been titled witchcraft, but a lot of it just simply goes back to shamanism. So you can't
That
really
would-
call it
yeah,
witchcraft.
Wicca is back since 1954.
So pretty new.
That's fairly
very
new.
new,
Yeah,
yeah.
relatively.
Pretty new.
Yeah.
70 years.
It's
And I would-
not really a traditional thing.
69 years, nice.
Nice.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's nice.
But
But shamanism and some of the stuff where that comes from and reading the stars, those are some of the most ancient things that have come with humanity for as long as we know it. And Christianity has forms of it. It's just over time Christianity has decided to push those things out because for some reason monotheism has a serious allergic reaction and attacking reaction towards polytheism. Because now you don't have to go to the church and you don't have to get to an upper level of consciousness or an upper being. You don't have to do it through me. You can do it by yourself at home, just through thought
Rituals
and
or thought
and
processes.
yeah, whatever your definition of a ritual is, or meditation, right?
that's the-
Could
and
be
that's
seen
the
as
thing.
as a ritual, and they start to see it like so. Now we have a problem because I had power because you used to have to go through me, and now we have a problem because you don't have to go through me anymore.
Right.
And that's why there was a lot of issues with like when the Protestant church was created, whenever America was first discovered, or not America, but you know the Western world was first discovered, and stuff like that. There's a like that created there was a lot of issues there because it's like now it's not like traditional Catholicism where I have to go to you to be saved. It's like, no, I just have to be a good person. I can worry about it myself. And they don't like that.
Right.
They don't like
Whenever you
that
take
very
out the
much at all.
middleman. then-
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's also, I think, as well, like that the idea of just ritual and just like spells, so to speak, and the whole idea of that. I mean, words are just things, right?
That's a good point of that. Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I think words are one of the most powerful things.
No,
that
they
exist.
are. They are. It's not okay. That's not what. I mean.
Okay.
Wor-
Okay.
On
Sorry,
the
sorry,
other
sorry.
side of
I
what
made a presumption there. My bad.
you're correct, but I think what he means
Yes,
is that
you can
like,
ask him. I believe the same thing.
you
Words hold a
the
lot of
words
weight.
do hold a lot of importance and power, and the way that we word things can actually change the reality that we have. But at the end of the day, they are just things. And if you can kind of understand what I'm trying to say, and I use the wrong word in what I'm saying to describe that thing, then the word I used is kind of thrown out. It doesn't really matter what word I use as long as you understood the concept of what I was trying to
It goes
say.
back to what you're
Words
saying.
are just things at that point.
Words have power, but only as much power as we put
As you
into
give them, right?
And so words are just things until
They're not, right.
they're not, until we put something into them, right? So like the whole idea of rituals, people see it as this whole like, oh, it's this crazy thing. But
You
like,
making coffee in the morning is a ritual.
yes, it can
And
be.
it's a powerful thing for you. What if you don't make coffee that morning? Does your morning kind of go to shit?
Do you kind of need
there's
that?
part of it
that
that's probably that
action of doing
chemical
that?
that chemical addiction, but also there's probably part of it that's I'm breaking away from my standard. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
I'm off of the routine that I'm used to, and that's a thing in itself. Like, it's kind of like the idea of like whenever you hear about people that pray 5 times a day, it's like that to someone that prays 1 time a day or no times at all. That sounds like a lot, but for somebody that prays 5 times a day, it's fucking nothing. It's
this
just
is a
life.
normal
It's
part
just
of
what you
life.
do.
Yeah, it's
you
a
know what I
normal
mean?
part
It's
of
like it sounds like something. It's like why would you do that? Is 1 time not enough, or like why do you need to do that on a daily basis? It's like, well, I don't. I do because this is what my religion is and this is what I believe in. But you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like you're not required
exactly.
to. But you are. This is a religion that you can practice. But no one has this shit down pat, motherfucker. Like
right.
nobody's
Works differently
perfected this
for everyone.
practice.
The way I like to look at it is like words are spells, right?
Yeah.
In the sense, but it goes back to we've talked about it before.
that I would so I think we're kind of reaching the same point. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
but
would
like-
agree with that.
But where I'm gonna go with it, so like I have talked about it with him before as well, is like where focus goes, energy flows, right?
Mhm.
And like so, like wherever, like we are energetic, like as beings, we have energy that flows through it, right? Everything has energy that flows through it, whether people want to believe it or not, because they like to put a negative connotation with it, because they're like, oh, we're all energy. But at the end of the day, scientifically, spiritually, whatever you want to look at it, we are all beings of energy, right? And so, like, if you were to focus something, enough energy into something, then
It's gonna
whether
happen.
your words and stuff, right? But if you were to get a group of people, right, to also put that energy into whatever it is, whatever y'all believe in and whatever y'all are saying and all this stuff, there's going to be a certain level of energy that goes. And at some point, that energy will have a reaction around you.
This is chaos magic. That's so that would
Doesn't
be
have to
what,
be.
No. That is. I'm telling you, that is what the definition.
is.
That's what chaos magic is. Is the theory that so like your traditional magicians and witches would say you have to do this ritual, burn these incense, do this, have this with you, do that. A chaos magician would say, no, you don't have to have any of those things. You just have to have the mental capacity to get into that mode.
Mm.
That would be chaos magic.
I
But which
don't
all
know-
the traditional witches and people that are into that stuff, they hate it. Because like, no, you have to have this herb, and that's why I go to this witchcraft shop and I buy this thing because you have to have it to do that. And
But
where
do
a
you think it's
chaos
not all the
magician would
energy
say, no,
beforehand?
it's mental alchemy. It's mental alchemy all the way. You're
But I think
forming it in
what-
your brain and projecting the spell. The spell is a thought, right? So that would be that.
I would agree with that, because would you not say that a lot of, like, don't get me wrong, there's probably certain herbs and stuff that do provide certain, like,
Well, I think about
Well,
it.
I think sorry.
In Terrence McKenna's ways, is like whenever you hear about a monk who was able to achieve like a psychedelic experience through meditation, his concept is like that's empowering and that's beautiful, but there's plenty of mushrooms right outside. Like you could just
Yes.
use the thing that gets you there instead of concocting a way for you to get there mentally without that thing. It's like you could just use the thing. So what you're saying is the opposite end of that is instead of just using
More
that
the
thing,
Alan Watts
there are
way.
people that can achieve that without that. So someone who is like a psychedelic experience, like or psychedelic, somebody that experiences with a lot of different psychedelics would be like, well, wait, I have to take the drug to get there. So like, why don't you take the drug to get there?
And there's other philosophers that would say if you're taking the herb to get there, then you're not getting as much out of it because you're not doing the quest. And so that's where you would say the important part is the quest rather than the trip itself. It's the quest that the trip is interpreting.
Not to bring this completely into like a psychedelic conversation, but like that's kind of my thought process on it. Is like something somebody told me before is that like you don't want to chase the trip, you want the trip to be something that you encounter in your life necessarily. So it almost is weird that a lot, for me at least, a lot of the bad trips I've had were these times where I was like, man, I'm trying to trip today, or like let's try to find some acid, or let's try to find some shrooms or whatever, you know what I mean? Like where you're almost like looking for it instead of it being like this type of situation where you get off of work and be like, hey man, I was about to go trip. You want to fucking trip tonight? It's like, oh, I wasn't planning on it, but I guess I am tripping tonight.
Now I am.
I don't know. That's kind of what I'm saying. Is that like there's these forced moments in life that I feel can kind of change the thing that you're supposed to experience. You know what I mean?
That is true.
I feel that. Yeah. I feel, but I guess my thing would be just that I think it is extremely achievable through struggle, as much as it is through the herb. I think it is extremely achievable through struggle, and like I mean, as somebody that has taken a lot more mushrooms than a lot of the people I know, like I've done some extreme amounts at some points. I hope my parents never see this. I'm sorry.
Hey, Mom.
But I've taken some really extreme amounts, and don't get me wrong, I do feel like I've had some experiences through that, and I mean like more than other people. I mean, you know, I don't mean it to be it's not intended to be a bragging situation at all. By no means was it intentional. It just kind of happened the way that it happened. But and I had some experiences during that, but also had some like real experiences afterward and some life struggles after I had the trip, and also before I had the trip, and then the trip had kind of concreted it. But I wouldn't attribute it to the trip. I would attribute it to the things that happened before, and then maybe I had a new way of looking at it. Maybe I had a new way of looking at it after the trip. You know, like I had some life experiences, I learned some things, and then I had the trip, and I learned some new facets of those things that maybe I wouldn't have seen it the same way. Maybe I would have. Maybe I wouldn't have. I'm really not, like, I try not to be one of those people. Like, I do believe in the plant, and I do believe in the magic of the plant and the spirit of the plant, but I don't think people should rely on it for their spiritual experiences. I think that's I don't like. I mean, it sounds harsh, but I find it a little bit egotistical that you have
that.
Like there has to be some effort into your
but
spiritual experience.
But also beyond that, it takes away from the magic in your everyday life for you to think that you need this plant to be able to experience magic.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Because every day of you breathing, you eating, your body chemistry getting you from place to place, and being, first of all, having the blessings to be able to have all your limbs and all of your mental capacity to be able to get you to the things, get done the things that you want to get done type shit on a daily basis. To have that is a blessing in itself. But then to also have all of these beautiful interactions with other creatures just like you that have all of these weird mental capacities of their own, all of these different experiences of their own, to be able to have those interactions and it just be like a normal occurrence, or even something that is beautiful that changes your life. It's like that in itself is magic, and it's easy to forget that whenever you think that like you have to see a fucking unicorn down the street for you to think that magic is being
I hate
experienced
that.
right now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that attitude towards stuff I really don't like, and I think there's a lot of people that, and granted, some of them are the people that have never actually tripped or done anything, and they're like, and you know, they're kind of want to be the cool one in the room and act like they have, and they're like, I saw a unicorn once. It's like, Really?
I'm really
That's
sure that
crazy.
you didn't,
I'm pretty sure you
actually.
didn't.
I
Almost-
wish.
that's wild.
incredibly
You must.
sure that you
I
did
want
it.
whatever this guy's
That's
taking.
what I wish.
Yeah.
That would have been the best trip of my life
But
if I saw a unicorn while I
I
was
would
tripping.
like since it's the Halloween episode, I'd like to move a little more supernatural. Have you guys ever had a very strange? Oh, this is gonna sound dirty.
Very strange.
This is gonna sound dirty, but I don't want it to. Have you guys ever had a very strange or supernatural experience with an animal, like a dog or a cat?
So
That did
not,
sound very weird.
Yeah, I
when you
know. I
said
knew it was
that.
going to,
When
but
you
but I
said
have,
it,
but I was gonna lead it up. Originally, I was gonna say, dude, you know, dogs kind of creep me out sometimes just by the way they act and the way that they notice things that like the average person doesn't notice.
something that I have kind of thought about.
But I
on that,
decided to advance on the question and make it a little more
there's
Halloween related.
there's like articles and shit of like, are dogs tripping or are dogs affected by you while you're tripping?
Why are you
or
giving
something?
your dogs fucking drugs, bro?
My thought process on it is that dogs are always in a state of tripping, but
They are-
that's only because tripping is realistically just living in the moment. And that's what that is. Whenever you are in that heightened state of whatever it is, like you are just fully in yourself in that moment type shit. And there are beautiful things all around you, but because you're never fully in the moment, you're always never being able to like attribute those beautiful things for what they truly are. Like for me, the thing that I can always attribute to myself is like, damn, I know I'm tripping now. Like the visuals that I get that I can be like, all right, it's kicked in fully type shit is seeing greens on trees pop more than they typically do, or seeing like cloud structures form type shit. Those are normal things. That green is always there. It's just I have like a heightened ability to see it for what it truly is or whatever. Da 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 da. Same thing. Those clouds are always fully forming themselves and deforming and doing whatever the fuck that they are doing in the sky. It's just that in that moment I'm able to fully like catch the beauty of what's going on around me type shit.
So with
So
okay.
attribute that back to dogs. It's
Yeah,
like,
I was lost.
sorry.
I was so lost. I was
Attribute
like,
that back
bring
to
it
dogs.
around.
It's like whenever you see,
Yeah.
whenever you see dogs like have like loud noises and they're like real on edge and shit like that. I feel like that's exactly what, like whenever you're tripping, you're just have like, in a heightened state of like being fully in that moment type shit. So whenever you have a fucking car alarm or a fucking siren or some shit just like go off, it's like that's why you start barking at the window. He's like, what the fuck is that? Because I've like for me, whenever I've been tripping before, I've heard like gunshots or fucking like what weird shit in the distance, and that has completely like changed my like mentality,
As
my
it should,
moment,
probably. Yeah,
as
yeah,
it
yeah.
should. But regardless, whatever it is,
dogs don't know.
even music, whenever you change the song type shit, you can kind of change your trip to a degree.
Yeah, because you're definitely like I would say like hyper aware of and
Exactly,
then
that's kinda what I'm
hyper
saying.
building fantasies onto the things you're experiencing, right? Like you're building layers into it. But I mean more in the way that when things are completely silent and tripping aside, all drugs aside, all out of body experiences aside, just the way that like dogs have these very as well as do cats have these very strange personalities, a lot of them, especially the ones that have experienced things. Like I mean, if you have a dog that has been saved rather than a dog that is
Out of a
bred
litter.
or out of a litter, then you have a different experience with the dog. And a lot of the dogs that are saved are much more absorbent of protective is a, I would say, a symptom of what I was going to say, which is like they're much more absorbent of like all of the facets of their surroundings and all the things that are going on. But like there's, especially with like saved dogs, there's some times where they just enter like different
Shikari.
huh
What?
You said enter. I said Shikari.
Oh, that's a great band, actually. I love that band. Weird that you say that. I didn't even know you knew that band.
I was like, Richardson? What are you talking about?
but you have like dogs that are like hyper aware of things. Like they're even more aware of whenever you're depressed than when you are.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Okay, I know what you
Like-
mean. It's like
Like
having that.
I guess
like,
what I'm saying is, have you ever had a
sense of
strange
empathy.
experience with an animal that you were like, that was way more intelligent of them than I expected?
I've had that. Yeah.
not
Do you
like,
remember what it
yes.
is?
not in that way. No.
I'm more asking like if
I mean, with
if you have a
cat-
story to share,
I've had
like
a
share
cat.
it.
I've had a cat. I mean, well, yeah, like where like my cat will like look at me, and then like look at the doorknob, and then open the door and back at me, and then like stare at you for a second, turn back and just like walk off. Like not even a scurry off.
Just a calm trot.
And you're like,
What was that? So
Yeah.
so growing up, I had this cat from I believe the year I was born, because I was 18
I think
when
cats
the
are more
cat
sensitive
died.
to shit like
No,
that.
100%. I think there's a lot of history to that too, what with Egyptians and whatnot. But anyway,
Racist.
don't put that on me. Come on. No. I had this cat that I believe I got when I was 18 because I believe she died at 18, and I was 18, so we grew up together. So I believe we got her when I was about 1. I might be mistaken. But when we moved into the house that my parents live in now, and I'm not one of these people. I'm not very supernatural. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in a lot of that stuff. I'm definitely not religious. But she always slept in front of my closet. Not weird, animals pick their little homes for things.
Yeah.
But she always slept in front of my closet, and I used to get sleep paralysis almost every single night.
That's crazy.
It's common in people that are young adults. Like they usually get sleep paralysis a lot.
Yeah, I would
But
get it a lot,
most
but-
people in their life
I've only
get it
experienced it a
like
couple
5
times.
times.
Yeah, I've only
Or-
I
experienced
used
like 2 or 3
I used
times.
to get that shit a lot.
Okay,
dude.
so I had it
hated
almost every night.
Shit was rough.
It's quite literally,
didn't get
it's
it
a
like
nightmare. Like it's a
Because-
fucking
Because you
nightmare.
wake up and you think like there's something there.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
I didn't get it to the
and
point
you
where I would
can't
see.
move. So then when you try to move,
That's
you start to
where-
freak
where
out
the
more
out
because you're
happens,
like,
yeah.
well, the freak out is because there's already this tension on your like chest, like your heart, like a constriction of your lungs or something. It's hard to describe, but there's this like anxiety that immediately grips you as soon as you come to. And then on top of it, you're like, oh shit. And then you try to move. You're not moving. And
No,
then
yeah.
you start to freak out more.
Yeah, no,
And
I've
then-
like I said, I've only experienced it a couple times, and I guess I feel blessed for that, and to find out that both of you guys
Oh,
have
I had it
experienced more
very,
than one
very
than-
Mine's always auditory though.
This story has a
Auditory?
conclusion, but
Like I hear shit or like it's more like peripheral.
So like whenever
mine's very visual.
mine
Mine's
was
not,
very
I don't see.
physical. Mine was physical, not auditory or visual. Really, it was like more so like I felt like there was something in the room. Basically, I was sleeping at a homie's house like it was when we were at U of H. Waiting for my next class to start. My homie lived on campus. I was like, hey, can I crash at your fucking on your couch for a couple hours type shit. He was cool with it. I slept on his couch, but like my arm was hanging off the couch type shit. So like I woke up and I couldn't I couldn't roll over or adjust or anything like that. But I felt like something like tickling like my fingers, like playing with my hands, like kind of like this type shit.
Oh, that's okay.
So and then I was like kind of like weird. I was like I can't like pull my
Move your
hand
arm?
up,
Yeah.
and I can't look over to see like
No, you're
look
stuck,
what's going on like why like what's tickling my hand. And then something started pulling my arm down type shit. And I was just like, I can't like roll over to see what's happening. And I can't pull like my hand back type shit. And then I got woken up a couple minutes later.
How
But that
fun-
shit was weird as fuck.
How funny would it be though if there's just like little creatures like they're not there
That's a
for like,
theory.
but like they're not there to hurt you. They're
funny
just
is the wrong
They're
word.
just
Ooh.
mischievous.
Goblins.
They're just like funny. They're just
uh,
mischievous. You're like, hey,
Yeah, got him. I got him.
and you're like, oh fuck, and
Yeah,
like,
what's going on?
And they're like, hey, and they all laugh about it, or like they're in the corner like,
You
you're
can't
like,
fucking see
"Ah."
me.
I got his ass, and you're like, I'm freaking out because like they never attack anybody, but you always freak out. But they're always just there like,
Fucking Bobby Lee reintroduced on one of the recent podcasts. He reintroduced the fucking whole Roy idea from Rick and Morty. And it's just like, man, one of my fears is that whenever I die, a bunch of my friends are just gonna be laughing and pointing at me and like, look, the fucking Korean. You picked the Korean dude, and you fucking made it only like 50, 60 years. Like you could have been a
the Rick and Morty,
bodybuilder. It's like-
oh my god, he's taking him off the grid.
Yeah, the fucking Roy
And
machine type
Morty's
shit.
or Rick's just fucking going off with this
It's
fucking
like I have a fear
average
that
show guy.
I have a fear that I'm just taking everything so seriously and trying my best in this life, but then
That's-
at the end of it is just like you only made it to level 42.
That I would honestly like I would really think about that because I don't know if you guys are into Alan Watts, but that's a very big the Alan Watts theory. It's just
Oh, this
it's
guy's
like,
into philosophy. What a pussy. He watches Alan Watts.
you.
What a fucking loser. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's a fucking Taoism, dude.
Taoism. Tell me I'm a towel.
You're a towel.
Yeah, call me a
I
towel.
mean, I would dry up
Tell me
with
I'm
you.
a towel.
I would dry up with you real quick, dude.
All right, but what Alan Watts is fucking...
No, so that would be a very Alan Watts like philosophy on
towel.
things is his whole thing is like it's a joke. Like I mean, how seriously people take things is just wild. Like one of his quotes, I don't believe he actually had this friend, but he says, "I have a friend. She's a Catholic professor and she teaches theology, you know." And he tells this whole story. And I don't believe this friend is real, but he says she had a sign in her bathroom that literally said "God sees all."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why is God watching me take a shit?
And
And that's like what he doesn't say it in those words, but his whole point is that she, as a Catholic, has it in her bathroom because she finds it ironic. Because it's like, why? Like, what is special? Like, what is it that he wants to see of me?
I hope God's watching me beat my meat.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, there is that,
well,
like,
what kind of porn do you watch?
What?
You really want to say?
he said that's not a podcast topic.
Now
we
it's
need
a
to go
different
into."
story.
Just joking. He's like, yeah, this is the good stuff, right? Yeah, you like that?
I mean, I don't know, because I feel like it is a trope that I've heard people talk about in the past of like how it feels as if like they're living in like a movie scene type shit, and someone is on the other side of the screen watching what's going on in their daily lives and things like that.
I
But
do want to finish the cat story. Don't wanna
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that.
for sure.
Yeah,
No, I would like to get back to that, but we can,
But yeah,
we can
no,
do
you
that.
fucking pussy.
Yeah,
I don't know what's
I just
going
want to
on.
go back on because he was on the story and then we got off.
But no, yeah, and then there was a cat whenever. But no, I don't know. I guess what I was trying to say is that like
watching our plane.
it is weird whenever you have that like voyeurship kind of like feeling type shit where you're like,
Yeah.
damn, is like someone watching this happen to
why?
me, or is this just
Like,
happening
why
to me
me?
right now?
Like, what
is this story? Is this character development
is
for
special
someone
about
else's
my life?
viewership, or am I just trying to get this shit
Yeah.
together here?
Yeah, you know what they say? The most sensitive part of your body when you're beating your meat is your ears.
I'd argue it's your toes.
Why? Nope. I would like you to finish that.
Yeah.
Why
Back to
your
the cat
toes?
story.
Mine's obvious. Yours is just like.
That's funny.
Wait, why is yours obvious?
So.
Ears?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're always listening to whatever. Like. if
Oh
someone-
yeah, if somebody walks in, I gotta hear it because my eyes ain't gonna see it.
What kind of precautions do deaf people go into?
Because you're waiting for
before-
God. You're listening
what
for
precautions
Jesus.
do they?
go
Well,
in-
they definitely go to captions on their phone.
Yeah, what?
I said, what kind of precautions do deaf people go into before?
You're a dickhead. All right. Anyways, your cat was in front of the.
Okay, so I grew up with this cat, so it was very well, now I feel weird saying this after the previous conversation, but it was a very personal relationship between
Is
me
it
and this
demon
cat.
sucker?
Because I grew up with this cat, like from as far as I can remember
On
to
18.
when I turned 18. As far as I knew, my understanding, the cat was also 18, right? So just as you know, could be brother or sister type
But it's
relationship.
quite
But,
clear that you don't have that good of an
um,
understanding.
The cat was your guardian.
Kinda. I would see it that way. The cat was crazy. Like, we moved into this house, and the cat would not go downstairs. So if I picked up my cat and I tried to carry it down the stairs, I would get 2 steps down the stairs before this cat freaked out and shredded my face.
That's sick. It's a
That,
sick stuff.
I to this day, that part I don't understand. I don't have an understanding of why my cat. The cat's name is Allie. I don't understand why Allie freaked out like that over just going downstairs. In that cat's life, after we moved into that house, it never once willingly stepped 1 foot down the stairs. Not 1 foot.
See, maybe the ghost was downstairs.
Now, as I said, I don't really believe
doesn't
in that
wanna go
stuff, but
downstairs.
I will acknowledge the strangeness of this situation. I don't believe in the ghosts and stuff, but I will acknowledge the strangeness of this situation. So, it never would. If I picked it up and I held it, and I clutched it like really tight to my chest so it couldn't move, it would do anything in its power to get out of my grip if I started walking down the stairs. I mean, it would claw my face. It would literally do anything to get away from going down the stairs. It stayed in the upstairs of the house.
And in front of the closet.
No, it stayed in our room mostly, which is where the closet was, but it slept in the closet and around the closet or on my face, whatever that's for. And but no, when I had my sleep paralysis, the important part is a lot of times when I had my sleep paralysis, I had this figure standing next to my closet, and it was like my door and then my closet. So door at 3 o'clock facing left, and then door at like 8 o'clock facing me, right? So 2 separate walls. And the door at 8 o'clock facing me was the closet door, and that's where my cat would sleep, and that's where this thing would just stand next to it, and it would just stand there, and it would just stare at me, and I couldn't move, and everything was red. I had like a red tint in all of my sleep paralysis. Now that means a lot, you know. Like psychologically, I don't know what that really goes for. I'm not saying it's like any supernatural thing, but I always had this red tint to a lot of my nightmares. And so when I freaked out, there was a lot of red tint. So I had these sleep paralysis. I'm not kidding. I probably had it from, I want to say 8th grade all the way through graduation. And then a few times after, and when I moved into my own apartment after I was 18. And, but when I turned 18, my cat died. Like literally right there by that closet. So. Really freaked me out.
No way.
Yeah, that's why I'm not into all that stuff, but that's like one of the only things in my life that I'm like, man, that's kind of weird. Like because it was like a really long storyline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was a very long time coming before that happened.
Right.
And
then
the cat died right
in
by
front
the
of the closet.
Is that when you stopped?
Having that sleep paralysis.
I stopped having it after I moved out of the house.
Maybe there was.
The house is from like the 80s, 90s, though. It wasn't like a super old house.
But what is that? I've seen whenever people
So
say
people
that,
are
it's like,
into
what does
that
that really
haunting.
mean?
I don't
it's like,
know, man. I don't
Because if there was
I'm
like
not into-
because I'm not super into it either. But if there was like a spirit, it's like, why does the spirit care about how old the wood is? Like,
Why
it's the
does this-
location, right? The land.
Okay,
right?
fair enough.
You know.
So if the spirit is made out of emotion and those last life emotions, why does it care how old it is? So
Yeah.
I could see if like the haunting thing was a thing, it doesn't matter how old it is. It could be from 2002.
right.
You know, like so.
But
but it's
beyond
hard
that,
for me to wrap
it
my
could be
head
from
around that kind of stuff.
1700 before. It could be from 1700 before a house was even like
that
on
whole
that
like
property
the
was even a thought process.
like the poltergeist kind of situation where it's just that Native American ancient energy creating
Maybe.
a modern haunting kind of thing. Or
Yeah,
like
I mean, either that or even like see that our history system is so fucked up. What was in this land before the natives?
Oh,
were,
yeah,
like, here,
especially-
you
yeah,
know, like
yeah.
this is the world is what 4 billion years, 7 billion. I don't fucking.
And
care.
in Texas, what do we have in Texas? The Karankawas, right?
Oh,
Is that what we had?
there's a bunch of different ones.
What
There's
did-
I think,
the-
well, I don't in Texas, like
Cherokees,
in the
the-
Galveston,
Cherokee's big.
Houston
Cherokee's
area.
a big one.
Cherokee, I don't think was in the Houston area. I don't
think
think
it
they
was.
were.
It's Texas.
It was Texas, but I don't think it was in our
I
region
gotcha.
of Texas. I think our region of Texas, if I'm not mistaken, was like the Karankawa or Karankawa. I don't know how you want to pronounce that. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I'm not Native American. But I think we had the Karankawa, and we might have had one other one. But there was in like our region of Texas, there wasn't that many, because they would have
Yeah.
been fighting.
It was the
constantly.
Karankawas.
It was the Karankawas.
and some other one.
Oh shit! This says
Don't
Native
ask me
American
why I'm a
tribes in Texas.
History nerd.
Yeah, it was the Karankawas that were around the Galveston area for sure. But yeah, a lot of different ones in Texas.
And what's crazy is like the Karankawas, people thought they were like cannibals, but if I'm not mistaken, they were the ones that they sharpened their teeth to look like cannibals, but it was to scare people.
But isn't that like so crazy? Because it's like I was gonna bring it up earlier, but it didn't seem like as applicable. But right now, it definitely is. It's like history is written by the victor. So
100%.
If you don't like that person, you get to say that they were cannibals. If you didn't like dealing with that person, you get to say that they were poor pieces of shit. You can put all of these names as like on the richest and most civilized people in history. They were, because they didn't win the war that was taking over their land type shit. Now they don't have any of that history and rich culture and things like that. Like that, those people were disrespected in every given way.
Yeah, we still see America as bad in the Revolutionary War, or not America, sorry, England as bad in the Revolutionary War. It's like, no, they weren't. No, they weren't.
Dickheads, for sure.
They weren't that bad.
So going back
They were
to
like,
what you
fuck
just-
taxes, and then we gave people more taxes.
Hey, we did, yeah, but fuck taxes.
I mean, the
Yeah,
concept of that was realistically like, all right, we're gonna go take over. We're gonna go take over this whole other fucking continent, and then we're gonna send a bunch of our people there. But then whenever those people got sent, they were like, we can just make our own shit.
Their
right?
big mistake. Their big mistake was, let's send a bunch of our people over there. Their big mistake was, let's send a bunch of our prisoners and people we hate over there, because I'm sure they love us.
It's like the Australia
You know what I
it's like the
mean?
Australia concept, right? You send a
No,
bunch of
100%,
prisoners there.
exactly.
You send a bunch of prisoners
That's
there.
what
And
we
it's like,
did
what do
to
you think they're gonna
America.
do? They're gonna
Yeah.
take over that land
then
and
what
then
do
just
they do?
create whatever the fuck they
They're
want.
the 100%. They're the number one people that are going to be like, you know what? Fuck you.
Isn't that crazy?
I'ma
that
do
like,
this.
isn't that crazy that one of the biggest punishments was exile, and that all exile was is just dropping somebody off on a different piece of fucking the planet and saying like, all right, you exist here now. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the worst situation in the world. You just gotta build for yourself. Right? You're just in a different spot.
Well, I was just hurry up, Dukes. I gotta go too. So what I was gonna say, I think there's another planet. I know we were talking about like
Like within this plane of
Realm?
existence,
it's like, so are there planes? Because like there's people who believe there's 12 like dimensions.
like universes
Relatively.
stacked on top of each other
Ki-
almost.
Well, not necessarily Well, yes.
It depends on your, I guess because
Term of
like that's the
universe.
thing is like, again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier
Oh,
about
yes,
how
universe.
words are just things, because like whenever you hear universe, you don't even really know how to like concoct what that even means. You can barely put together what another planet really even means. You know what I mean? Like the idea of getting to that planet, and then the idea that you getting to that planet is the least of your worries, because there's light years and fucking light years of other planets and galaxies within this one universe. And then there's also these thought processes of parallel universes and multiverses and all these different like things that we don't even really have a full understanding of what a universe is.
I think there's I think there's different planes of it. I was watching a thing today where some dude was trying to say that like technology has existed long before we knew it existed. Like all the materials have been here already, like way long ago. We had already figured out like
I mean, it makes I don't know about the internet in the way that we think about it, but it makes sense as far as technology goes. There's a lot of things that we can't account for that don't make sense, because that's what I'm saying is technology is just a tool, right? It's like the definition of the term is like being able to, like, it's like something that you use as a tool.
yeah, like a wheel's a technology.
Like the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes is
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
like, so like in
a
that
pin,
level, it's
a
like
wheel, it's all technology.
what we think of as like cybernetic technology, like the internet and stuff like that. That might be something that's new, but that doesn't mean that that's the only way to do it, or the only way it's ever been
New,
done.
that's what I'm saying. It's like all the materials have been. So who's to say it hasn't already? What, the internet? We're talking about the internet.
Like, what about it?
Like all the materials have already existed to create the internet. But some people believe that the internet has already been around. Like it's not a new invention.
Like in some sort of ancient culture, like we're
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
on
like-
Graham Hancock kind of stuff.
Fuck Graham Hancock is.
You don't know who Graham Hancock is?
Who the fuck is Graham Hancock?
Graham Hancock is the ancient civilization, or
Ancient civilization. Yeah,
ancient.
what would be the word? It's
not
catastrophe.
atrocities.
Something. He believes that
The one that starts with an A.
he
It's like catastrophe but it starts with an A.
he believes that we have reached advanced civilization
Are you about
before.
to use the restroom?
You can if you need.
I do.
I'll go for it. Yeah.
Let's take a break real quick, and then we'll come back whenever Daniel
Yeah, we
gets
can.
back.
I mean,
from the
I don't know how hard that is for you to pause and do an editing, but if not, me and Cole can continue while you go take a piss.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I was also saying that
Let's
I
not
believe.
take a pause.
I was also saying that I believe that there's another plane. I think there's another. Like instead of like ghosts and all that shit, like we believe there's just another plane of existence.
I would like your context on what a plane means to you and what you mean by that.
just like so like I mean, okay, let's say for instance,
Like
Ancient
a time
apocalypse.
plane, dimensional plane.
yeah, dimensional plane. So like there is another plane of existence that lives within ours.
Spiritually, or do you think it's so?
That's the question.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's kind of where I want your what your feelings on it.
That's the question. I personally think okay. Before I use restroom, I think that there
Alright,
is
I'll go
like.
take a piss.
All right, go take a piss. I'll finish up on this because I can hold my piss for a little bit while he does it. So I think personally, like evolution-wise, consciously, that like when we evolve consciously, we evolve to another plane of conscious.
Okay, I would
and when
agree
we
with
die,
that.
when we
I
die,
would say that's
potentially,
like a common.
and when we die, potentially go to another plane of conscious instead of it being like a heaven type of thing. You know what I mean? It's just like
Heaven is in your mind.
it's like the matter's neither created nor destroyed type of thing. We just kind of like we evolve. Like when we die, our soul, spirits, whatever it may be, kind of just go into another form of being.
I would agree
But-
with that. I think there's a
but-
lot of people that would agree with that.
They think maybe if they don't really. I don't think anyone's. There's not that many people that are solid on. You say that there's probably.
I would say, me and Keegan, my roommate, that people don't have context of. I would say that we probably both, like, honestly, are on that level.
It's just I think there is another plane that probably lives within this same realm of which we live in. And it's just kind of like, you ever heard the Carl Sagan when he talks about it, like the 3D to 4D?
Mhm.
Like we would see that 4D being as how we would try to speak to a 2D, like
We would have
right?
they would have no concept of us because they
because they don't know what up is.
can't
They know left,
conceive
right,
of the
forward.
third dimension.
Yeah, they know
outside of
left,
the second.
forward,
and we
backward,
cannot we cannot perceive outside of our dimension, like
or
and above
three
that.
dimensional. So
Right.
whatever was trying to speak to us from that fourth dimension would be like, is this God? This is a godly being, or this is spirit from beyond, right? When it's just a being from another dimension trying to contact us, which is like maybe from a Ouija board, we're contacting something from another dimension.
So that's where some of the occultism comes in, where the secret knowledge, right? Because occult, we've decided is the secret knowledge, right? It means secret.
We've made that
right.
decision.
Well, and I do believe
Can
that
we
is
put it back on?
I do believe that is what it means.
You cheater.
But
I'm not a cheater, dude. It's like Mario is a mechanic. Whenever he gets off work, bro, he's got to take his
You're
work
still on
uniform
clock.
you gotta
off.
get it
Yeah.
right. Come on. Hey, I'm still got the vest on. You know what I mean?
You took the cloak off.
That's
Now
fair.
you
Okay,
literally
okay.
are just Maggiano's worker.
You're on the clock. You're on the clock. All right, now continue though.
I would
Yeah,
like to not use my affiliation of workplace.
I
and-
didn't say Maggio.
continue on the plane stuff. I gotta use the rest.
So basically, I think what we concluded on with the occultism is that this is like a secret knowledge, right? And in my understanding of it, at least through the books I've read and the lectures that I've listened to, is that secret knowledge is in preparation for you to, in some way or somehow, slightly more understand the higher dimension, so you're prepared for it by the time that it gets to you, because it's that old hermetic phrase of meat for grown-ups, milk for small children. So you don't give information to people that you know for a fact can't handle it, because they're going to freak out, right? It's almost like, well, why would they not tell us aliens exist if aliens exist? And it's like, well, because the whole world might descend into chaos and shit might go south real quick.
Also, they literally have, and we still doubt it. So,
Right,
like,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
I mean,
And I'm not saying there's not reason to doubt it. I'm speaking on this other level
no.
that
I
we're
guess
talking about.
I was just making.
No.
like
I see your comparison.
a
though.
tangent,
Yeah.
but
no,
yes.
definitely. No, I see what you're saying, and I agree with it. But to be on this level that we're talking about, like, no, you don't just tell everybody this information because they're not going to understand it. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
also a phrase of, if there's a blind snake, but the snake could talk, right? It speaks English. Describe that snake to me. Just if I were the snake, describe color. What is color? I've never seen color. How do you describe it?
Why do you have to be a snake? You just be a person.
Yeah, well, this is how the traditional. That's the traditional phrase.
Gotcha.
Of it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So,
okay, but yeah,
so
I mean, I do
describe
get what
color
you're,
to me. I'm blind. I was born
Right.
blind. I've never seen color. Describe color to me.
but I get what you're saying, and I get what that like saying is also kind of trying to describe. But that also goes back to like kind of the little bits of magic that we get to experience on a day-to-day basis that we don't have respect for until we realize that not everyone gets to experience that magic.
Right, which is
That's kind
meat,
of which is color, which
meat
is
for grown-ups
right.
and milk for small children. Right, so the levels of information that people need to hear, very different. Not everybody needs to hear the keys to the universe because not everybody can handle the keys to the universe. And I get that eventually that could be led to a form of gatekeeping, which nobody wants, right? But also you don't want people that can't handle information to have information that they can't handle. You know what I mean?
Well, I do because
But who
it's-
determines that?
Right,
that's
which is where
the
you come into a
pro-
problem.
There's a
that's
governing
where
power at the
the-
helm of whatever it is.
This is where, if you're reading the Hermetica, this is where the Hermetica would say, I am here, I'm a book, you can choose to seek me out, but and try to tell other people to read me, but if they don't push it, because we don't want people that aren't into it to read it. You get what I'm saying? That's where the Hermetica would be, and if you guys wanted to go into the Hermetica, we could go into the Hermetica, but
Well, I mean we could, but I guess what the main point is that like does that? I guess the question around all of that is that whenever you have certain things like the Hermetica and things that carry power, but through that power is realistically through the belief of it, not necessarily through anything more than that.
It could be.
It could be,
potentially.
but it's like the thing that is the proponent of it is people's belief systems behind it. Whenever you have that, it's hard to find truth in things. It's hard to find, is this someone's belief
Absolution.
system? Correct. It's hard to find an absolute truth in any of the things because a lot of these things are more attributions to things that have happened to someone at some point and then everyone else's perspective on that event.
So the Hermetica would want you to give away all absolution.
Right.
So nothing is absolute. You shouldn't think of everything as just completely this or completely that. So an example of that would be the law of polarity. So nothing is completely different. Nothing is opposite, right? So you take a pair of opposites. They're not actually different because what they are is they're opposites of the one thing. So they are connected in the middle by the fact that they are opposites of each other.
In the same way,
there is
a
no
mirror,
temperature. There is varying degrees of hot.
It's like the same way of like a mirror image. It's like there's you and there's the image that you're seeing in the mirror, but the constant is the mirror itself.
Or the
interesting way
thing
to put it.
taking up the mirror and the physical being. Because they
Oh,
might
fuck.
be literally the same thing.
Yeah.
So it really, well, they are the same thing. What
Yeah.
is taking up the mirror is the same thing that makes the person. You are just visualizing it in the mirror. So they are actually the same thing. So no, in fact, they are not different. They're still physical representations of the one thing.
So you are the mirror.
But that is
So
crazy.
your
though.
consciousness,
fuck.
your consciousness creates your perception of yourself while you look at your hands, and your consciousness creates the projection of yourself looking into the mirror at yourself. So
But,
they
like,
are
the
both
differ-
products of the one thing.
I mean, like what he said though, it is crazy to think of like how like it's just like there's varying degrees of hot. There's not hot.
There
and
is not
cold.
hot and cold.
Right.
Hot, and there's a different version of hot. Because I mean, what if you think about it? Like cold, if you get cold enough, still hot.
Yeah, no, I mean you could
Yes.
have a
That is-
hot coffee. You could have a hot coffee an iced coffee, and then walk out into fucking 0-degree weather, and it's not a hot coffee, but relative to it being something that you're experiencing outside, an iced coffee could still warm you up somehow in certain varying weathers of degrees. That's kind of it. Just depends on the
Or if it's cold enough, it could burn you.
Yeah, exactly.
The Hermetica would also be where the law of as above, so below comes from, right? Theoretically. So as above, so below, and then there's also the law of polarity. So the law of as above, so below is its own law. in the
Giving V
Hermetica.
for Vendetta vibes. I don't know why. I'm just don't know how to
It's the
say it.
tu- it's
I've
the-
been-
it's the tux.
Been looking at it.
Gives
The
what
tux and the
vibes?
long
V
hair
for
and the
Vendetta.
mustache.
Yeah,
But I've always been really big on people understanding the law of polarity because
Revolution.
whether they believe in the Hermetic or not or anything, I think everybody has something to gain out of the fact that we are not completely different. There's something that connects everything, right? We are all part of the same thing, and to just think you are the opposite or someone is the opposer of you, that's not really fair. I mean, like the devil would not exist without God, right? If you were to look at it in a Christian aspect.
but would they not be one and the same also?
Yes, they are this. That's what I'm saying. Like they are the one. You can't look at things so individualistically, like and dissect things so much because it's like more than likely what you hate about something would not exist without the thing that you love, right?
That, but also the underlying issue is a lot of this stuff is being taught in like adverse ways, and it's like you're taught that like the devil was sent to hell for trying to be like God, whenever theoretically he is.
And this
like
is
God.
also an important
he-
aspect of meat for grown-ups.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, don't give the information to everyone. Wait till they seek it out and they want it and they want the adventure of that knowledge and the learning of that knowledge from experience and having failure and then learning that, like, oh, man, I want to hate somebody for something, but, God, I really shouldn't hate them because in reality it's just not fair. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
Well,
and granted,
yeah.
there's different
Your
aspects to
hatred
that.
of somebody else is really rooted in self-hatred more than anything. It's not that person did anything to you. It's that you had the expectation that things were supposed to go a certain way and they didn't. And now
Yeah.
you're left accepting the fact that they didn't.
And you have to
the world goes round,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not.
But
So-
you could be mature in your acceptance of that knowledge and be like, damn, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. And then you could progress from it, or you could be immature in your grasp of that knowledge and hate everyone because things didn't work out the way that you wanted it to and it's everyone else's fault and yada
beyond
yada.
immaturity,
That's
it's
where
more,
it's the knowledge is only worth it to people that are willing to accept it with gravity and accept
but
it
at that
with
same level, it's a convenient immaturity. It's not an immaturity like I just haven't learned yet. It's the convenience that you have the option to be immature about this.
And you
can say
do.
you
And
can
you
say
do.
the world is fucking all against me. You can say it's all woe is me and da da da. You have the option to do that, and not only do you have the option to do that, you have pressure to
Yeah.
do that from your own internal. It's like, well, what the fuck? I'm always there for people. Nobody's got my back, or it's like you can really tell a story to yourself and go down a road that doesn't exist, but you're creating in your mind just by allowing that, because that is allowed to you.
But the
because
responsibility that comes with that, I think, is scares.
that's
Exactly.
the purpose, right? Like you have to
but then you also get to run from that responsibility because you know that like that
Here.
is.
are you
it's
gonna
easier.
ask somebody to bench fucking 200 pounds that you've never asked to do push-ups?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like people need a structure. They need you have to build that foundation.
Things need
For
to be
people,
gradual.
right? Like, I mean, look at so another thing that an esoteric person would look at is the structure of a pyramid. You have to have that base. You have to have that wide base so you can build this beautiful, gracious, energetic in scientific ways and in psychological ways. It's
not just-
energetic structure. Like you can't just build it straight up. You can't just get to the goal as fast as possible. You have to build it. You have to have a wide base, and you have to build on top of that foundation and build a mentality on top of that foundation and build it to an acute answer, right? Like, I mean, and that shows itself in many different forms of life, I think.
Most people also devote their entire life to trying to get to a point to where they feel
But isn't it
With
interesting how
what
like
specifically?
well. Like, I mean, understanding what that means.
Yeah, exactly. And that I guess that's the whole point I keep coming back to with the whole not everybody needs to be told this stuff. And also the moment you think when you learn when someone else tells you this stuff that you figured it out, that's also a big pitfall because that's not the case. You're supposed to continuously be building the pyramid.
That's what I'm
It's
saying. 'Cause,
nonstop.
like, it's that understanding. I mean, at any point in my life, I've kind of, it's hard for me because it's like once you make that decision, following through and what that means, follow through with that decision. I mean, on a smaller scale, of course, for the lot of things I do, but like when you're like trying to really figure out these things, and even if you're diving deeper into these knowledge or some things you might not even want to figure out, but it's like once you start following through, it's understanding what following through means and what like the continuance of thereafter and what that means.
And in a lot of situations, once you do start following through, you start questioning why you didn't ever start doing it earlier or start doing it in the first place.
But
and things
also
like
having
that.
to take on more responsibilities of what it means to follow through, because it's like leaving a lot of what you were behind. Also,
It's acceptance that the person that you were isn't the person that you are, and that the person that you are has a lot more responsibilities, or a lot of different responsibilities at the very least. Maybe it's not more, maybe it's not less, but maybe they're just different things that you want to be doing, or
The more you
different things
learn,
that
you
need
should
to be doing.
have more responsibilities because you have
That is
the responsibility of knowledge.
That is something that I feel is not taught properly. Maybe, I don't know if it's just the society. I can't speak for the entire world, but like there is something that is important to your contributions to the world, and it's not talked about enough to be able to understand that you do have a contribution to the world. It's not something that you should feel is like a godly duty or a morality like booster or anything like that. It's like, what the fuck else are you gonna do?
With
Like,
great
what
power comes great responsibility.
But like, why? Like, to a degree, it's like, yes, you could fuck off.
Spider-Man.
You could be somebody that is lazy and doesn't go after what they want, and you could survive doing that and being somebody that isn't the person that they want to be. You could survive doing it, but it's difficult because, like, yeah, I mean, you guys
Gotta
are
get
running
Mario in
the-
here.
If I had a monitor over here, it'd be much better. But I mean, it's difficult.
I was thinking that too. As soon as right before I was looking at it, I was like, dude, this been on us for a fat
It has been.
Well,
I mean, there's a couple times where it went black too.
I'd
so
put
I
it on
mean,
this pretty face every day of the week. So
As far as far as the viewers concerned, I think that I hope I get a pass on this one. This is my second time running board while being on episode, and it's not easy, especially since I don't have a monitor in front of me. But regardless of that, what was I saying? Fuck, I forgot.
Well, I was going to comment on your note of responsibility with
Fucking derailed
responsibility
me.
with knowledge is what you were kind of talking about.
Yes.
And what I was going to ask was like,
rock hard
is
for
it
knowledge.
is it not? So say you do acquire what you believe is some sort of knowledge or esoteric knowledge or knowledge that people
This
that
is
you think you've
knowledge.
advanced on or.
Get God, brother.
Daniel gave me a good
This
this.
is knowledge.
Daniel gave me a good this.
He
That's
said white power.
that's knowledge. Oh damn! Got
Yeah,
him.
Cole said.
white power.
Cole
Got
said
him.
that.
And that's esoteric knowledge for you. No, I'm just. But do you not have like? I mean, is it kind of your responsibility at that point if you think you've achieved something philosophically, meditationally, or spiritually, to bestow that upon other people?
Yes,
Is it
but not
that-
everybody.
It's,
Right.
It's that at the same time, but the thing you have to get over to realize that is how egotistical it is to think that you figured some shit out that nobody
Exactly.
else could.
So when
So
is
you gotta
that's where I like the Alan Watts thing of his whole philosophy is if you go to a true enlightened Buddhist monk and you ask them, I want to know the secret, like I want to know the secret, they're basically going to give you a bunch of riddles that just drive you in circles until you realize there's nothing to learn. Because they
Yes.
know there's nothing to learn. And where they get you is you think there is. So they're like, "Oh yeah, I've got a secret," and they're like, "Well, you got to
clay
do this.
pot doesn't
and
shape
you gotta
itself."
do you got to do this." And they basically just draw you in circles until you realize life is just life.
You gotta
and
get
it
your
sucks,
hands dirty.
and there's
it takes
nothing.
patience.
There's literally nothing that takes away the suck, and there's nothing that makes the betters better, and there's nothing that takes away either of them. No matter what, life is just life.
It's like Zoe
I mean-
101 when he tried to learn how to drive the car and they made him stomp the grapes, so he learned how to drive a clutch.
I don't think it's like that at all. But I mean, I kind of think well, like what you're talking about, where there's nothing in those situations.
I'm
it's like
butchering
I-
his philosophy, but
No. But on that same
Stomp the grapes,
philosophy,
you'll learn how to
it's
drive a
like,
clutch. I
in
promise.
today's society, it's like whenever, like, I forgot what the quote was from, but I've heard it on like a couple of those like it's not psychological, fucking a lot of those philosopher mixtapes and shit like that, where they kind of put together different like Alan Watts and other people
Yeah,
and shit like
yeah.
that in these like
Ram Dass
chill
and
step
stuff.
on top of like chill step shit and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
So there's one where it's like a father talking to a daughter type shit, And basically the conversation is about like her using antidepressants, and necessarily she's kind of saying like, so what am I supposed to do? Just like whenever I'm sad, I'm supposed to just feel sad. I'm supposed to just feel that. He's like, yes, like everyone else does.
Yeah.
Because you're not alone in this pain. This isn't a unique pain. And then I'm not saying that to take away from what you're feeling. I'm saying that to help connect you to what you're feeling, because everyone feels it, and everyone has those moments that they have to get through. And yeah, there's ways for you to get through it that's easier than others. You could take a pill, or you could do the work.
I think,
and either way, you would get to that destination of quote unquote feeling better.
Yeah.
But there is a power of you getting yourself there versus the chemical getting you there, and that's just in that conversation, because you can attribute that to other things.
Right. But I was gonna say, full circle. Ironic that you
Mhm.
said that. Bring it back to the trip with the spiritual plants. Yeah, you can do it yourself. You know what I mean? Like I mean, your spiritual trip. One thing that I don't like is that people will make the trip about the plant. It's not. It's about you. The spiritual journey is about you. Don't make it about the plant. You know what I mean? Or don't make it about the drug. Don't make it.
You cupping the balls?
That wasn't me. That was him.
He kept doing that earlier.
No,
he's
he
like,
kept
he's like-
doing that.
He's like, it's about the trip.
It's about the full circle.
Cup the ball.
You got to full circle,
It's about
grasp
the
it,
trip.
firmly grasp it. I need you
Not
to
about the
really
plant.
grasp
I do
it.
agree though, because your trip can change based on the intention. You can go into it looking
Well,
for a
also,
visual
it's just
experience.
don't
You
rely
can
on shit. My life sucks. The only way I can make it better is if I trip nuts.
Dude,
Like,
I've known
that's
people
just-
like that.
that's
Just don't rely on
so-
anything.
That's just so unfair to yourself and to
Yeah.
and to the spiritual plant in itself. You know, like I mean. Maybe you should think about, or maybe you should work on yourself before you decide to take a journey like that. You know,
but I
rather
think
than the other way around, which
you're
is
not
kind
wrong.
of strange.
You're not wrong, but I think a lot of the problem in that problem is that people don't really know what it means to work on themselves, and that is to an
You just have to have the
untrained-
shit scared out of you.
to an untrained eye. To an untrained eye, people look at that as a voyage into figuring out how to work on themselves, and that's probably an inherent issue in a lot of the miseducation of psychedelics, where people think that it's going to be this spiritual experience. You're going to talk to God, and you're going to figure out your place in this world. It's like, no, it's
no,
none
you
of
have to
that.
do that.
It's
I did.
zero of that. You might. I'm not saying you won't, but
All
I'm
of
saying
those
it's
things.
Well, kind
not
of.
on your
hear
first
it.
trip. Not on your
I wanna
first
hear
trip.
Not my first.
That's
so I'll
my
say
point.
I'll say this.
I will sit
so-
calmly. I would like
I'll
to
say
hear
this.
this.
I did a lot of research. So like I would say, I started smoking weed probably 8th grade, and I kind of like around that time. That's what got me like. Well, so it's yes and no. So I really got into philosophy around that time. I was reading a lot of books. I was learning about a lot of psychedelics. I was learning about like just like philosophy in general, and I was really into a lot of that stuff. And I was deep diving into learning about people and who I was. And then I tripped acid for the first time. The first trip definitely was not one that was like introspective. That one was like, holy shit, I'm tripping dicks.
Like visuals, right?
Yeah. Just tripping nuts.
It's tough to handle a lot that's going on when you first
It's
do
just
that.
overwhelming.
Yeah. So it's hard to sometimes have a truly inward experience.
But I'll say at that time, the accompaniment. I just wanted to let everyone know too. I don't smoke anymore. I really barely.
I
do
have never
psychedelics.
seen Daniel smoke weed ever.
I have a few times. I love every time.
Yeah.
It's always a
I used to
treat.
smoke a lot, but I don't.
I do smoke a lot. I'm not afraid to admit
Yeah, I
that.
don't. I don't smoke weed anymore, but like when I was younger, yeah, smoking weed and like taking those acid trips definitely helped me dive deeper into the introspection.
Yeah.
But then I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like that was the end all be all. Like I have all the answers. It took, which is I agree with you what you guys are saying. It's also how I feel about the spiritual journey in general. Is that a lot of people take like meditation and everything. They think like, oh, I'm supposed to be a good person. Fuck you. So I'm supposed to be a good person, or like they're like I did a good thing, or like they think this is what spirituality is, and they skew the idea of that it's this ongoing process And it's just like the search for knowledge is this ongoing. Everything, life is an ongoing process.
Yes.
You're constantly in an ongoing process, a learning process. It's the being in which you are, and you accepting things for what they are. And it's like what you said. You try all so hard, and you're just hi, you on level 46, or even like what you were general about, like taking all the knowledge on the responsibility. It's like every day is that.
Yep.
Yes, but it's also like it's not that serious.
So that would fall into the aspects of
It's
above, so below. If you think the difficulties will stop when you reach another plane, if that is the case,
They won't.
they won't. Why?
No,
like,
it's just
if you
different
were to
shit.
lose all faculties of aspiration and what it means to feel alive and things like that. I mean, this idea that I think some people
There's-
have of paradise, quote unquote,
There's no
is
making
is
it.
miserable.
You
It's,
don't make
it's
it in
miserable. Like,
life.
I mean, no one would want to live that way.
You don't make it
want to
in
live
life.
that way.
You can find success in life, but you don't make it. There's
Yeah,
no
you could- you
idea.
could find- but even
don't-
in a-
you don't make
even
it.
in the
You
next
there will all
plane.
be new challenges. There will always be new things that present themselves as challenges. Whether you treat them as a challenge or not is completely up to you. But like, there's always going to be new things, new people, new scenarios, new situations, fucking new wars, new fucking all different types of things that are going to be introduced into your reality. There's no way for
Right.
you to. It's the no man can walk in the same river twice.
Right.
Different river, different man. You know what I mean? Like, you do have these aspects of life that are, like you said, it's every day. It's a process, and it's not gonna be immediate. But at the end of the day, it's not that fucking serious, because whether you whether you're the most impactful human that has ever walked the earth, you still only live 100 years. That's nothing in the grand scheme of the actual life that is going to be lived on this planet. You can have an impact on society, but that society has a breaking point, and that society is going to fall to a degree. It's not a if, it's a when. And when that happens, the person that you were 1,500 years ago that society was predicated on, like, look at Julius Caesar. Like, he's still like an inspirational figure in certain, like a figurehead in history. But
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
man is basically a fucking, at this point, been dwindled down to a goddamn casino.
He's been dwindled down to
Like-
a book, that's for sure.
He's been dwindled down to a
I wanted to
goddamn
give you the
casino.
experience about the trip, though. I didn't. Get
Oh,
to
right,
tell you.
right. Sorry.
But I also wanted to say yes.
But I
tried to-
meant more on different planes. Like, if you reach the next plane, who's to say there's not struggles? Like, why would you not want to struggle? Is kind of what I was saying. In a short.
But on that same level, if you reach the next
This is the
plane,
gift or curse.
that's what I'm saying. Who's to say that it's
Exactly.
not all struggle on the next
No,
plane?
no.
What
Yeah,
if this
yeah,
is just
yeah,
preparation
100%.
for
It's like,
struggle?
oh, you like David Goggins, that shit. Oh, it's all struggle. All you do is get to grow.
You don't have cartilage. you don't have
just
cartilage on.
grow.
That guy's an animal. That guy's an animal.
You don't have cartilage in your knees? That's great. I don't either, but
He
I
said-
still run 20 miles a day.
He said, so?
real shit though.
Dude,
Sorry,
No,
but
even-
continue. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say one for sure. I try to be the silliest goose serious person I can be every day. In the sense, like, I try to take things as non-serious, but also tackle things in a way that I care about what I'm. Yes, tackle things in a way that I care about what I'm. You know, and like in the process I'm trying to make. But the trip, I'll tell you the trip, the moment, right?
Yes, please explain it to me.
I was a freshman in college, classic, right? And it was my roommate at the time, Tristan, which he was friends with also at the time.
TSD.
Shout out TSD. He became a hater. We had that trip.
If you're not watching.
Whatever. So I honestly don't care. So, he did. He became a hater. He became a hater.
He's not wrong. I mean, I think hater is probably the wrong word.
It's
but
not.
right.
I know him. He's a hater.
Same concept earlier. Words have their purpose, but also words are just
Yeah. So,
things.
anyways, we were tripping. We both tripped, and we were riding our longboards around campus, and then we ended up watching the sunrise on top of a building. And like, we were sitting there, and we're like, dude, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Like, why are we going to school for this shit? Like, are we just doing this because this is what we felt like we needed to do, or because it's what we're really supposed to do? And we were like, dude, we could really make a change in the world. And have you ever seen Zeitgeist?
Which one?
We watched the Moving Forward. Zeitgeist.
Oh,
Moving
yes.
Forward.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
And then I showed him Thrive, which is like kind of like
Okay.
another type.
I don't think
version
I
of
watched that one. I didn't.
It's
the
pro-
one that
it's
I
pro-
did
it's
watch
funny. It's
kind of-
the guy
kinda,
who
like,
owns
creeped
Proc.
me out a little bit.
So Thrive is the guy who owns Procter and Gamble, which is funny, which is a huge company that.
It's kind
I-
of one of those
Dude,
things
the
of like,
Zeitgeist stuff is honestly, in my opinion, brainwashing.
No, but Thrive was funny because they called a big like
brainwashing in what direction? Because it's like I mean, you'd have to believe it for it to be brainwashing.
In its own direction. I mean,
'Cause, I mean,
you know
what
what I
it-
mean? Like,
What it is a compilation of information, and even a lot of that information doesn't really have sources.
No more beer.
no, it doesn't have to. I'm not saying it has to have like one direct source. I mean, what is it? Scientology doesn't have one direct
Yeah,
source.
but like Thrive basically said that there was gonna be a fucking
out of multiple things, that he drew philosophies from a lot of different things to make it, and
was
people
also a
believed
known
it
con
because of
artist.
that.
Yeah,
Yes, but people
fair.
believed it because of
Thank
all
you.
the different things he drew inspiration from. So there was something for everyone to agree on.
fair, but
You
but
get what
Thrive
I'm,
essentially
there was
also
something for
was-
everybody to be happy about, and that's
Thrive-
where those people kind of get you. Like
I
a
get
lot
what
of
you're
the time.
saying. But like also Thrive was basically talking about just like follow the money, trace it back. Like where are these big corporations? Where's the money going? And it was also on some like eventually the government's gonna create like something that's gonna cause
I didn't see
like
Thrive, to be fair.
It's-
That's,
it's like-
not,
it's-
that
it's
doesn't
gonna
sound
co-
like the
Dude,
Zeitgeist
it was
I saw.
it's not the best thing to watch while you're tripping because it fucks with you because it's like there's gonna be they were like the government's gonna create some big thing that's gonna cause mass fear and control you, something like probably like a virus, and it got a bunch of people with masks, and I was like now you're looking at it, you're like, oh fuck.
But
This
they
was
were
back-
also the first ones to say you'll own nothing and love it.
Wait, Zeitgeist? No, I thought that was the World Economic Forum.
No, Zeitgeist had it was one of the one I watched was like everything's gonna be great and addiction is not psychological. It's all just because you live in a shitty place and that's why there's addicts that exist. It's not because they're addicts and they have horrible things going on in their life. It's because the world around them is horrible and the system they live in is horrible, and that provokes them to be that way. That's the one I saw, and that was.
I am convinced I never saw that.
I've got to find out.
There's
I'd
multiple.
have to-
There's
yeah,
like three
there's
Zeitgeists.
there's a couple.
I've
of
only
them.
seen the main one and then the Thrive. I haven't seen the Moving
Thrive,
Forward.
yeah, Thrive is not Zeitgeist.
or
Thrive's a whole.
The,
different-
No, I
the
know,
one I'm
that's
talking
what I'm
about
saying.
ends with like this guy like throwing his briefcase off a bridge, and it's like a shot, and it's all
yeah, I didn't see
like
that one.
theatrical, and there's
Yeah, I
a bunch of
definitely
people
didn't
on
see
the
that
bridge,
one.
and they're like, "Yeah, fuck actual work," and that's basically what it got behind. Was like its ending was just like fuck actual work. Like you're gonna not own anything.
I
You
think
don't
that's
have
the
to have
original.
a car, because if you need a car and you want to go on a vacation, you can go and rent a car. And it'll be owned by somebody. You don't know who, but it'll be owned by somebody. But you
Moving
don't have
forward's
to
a little
own
bit
it.
different.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
no,
so-
I mean, to a degree, the work from home situation is kind of a lot like that. If you work from home, you don't need a car to get to work. I mean, all of your groceries, services, everything can be delivered to your house. You don't need to really
Yeah.
even own that house. You can rent that house. So basically, as a consumer, you're looking at it as like, oh, I don't need to like actually plan for ownership of these things, but that
But
in
you leave
turn is you
yourself-
planning to be a renter for
you
the rest of your
you
life.
leave yourself vulnerable of the person that does own it. If they don't like something about you, they can pull it from you.
Exactly. But I mean, I guess we got off track a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit.
I didn't mean
My-
to get
my
away from
point-
your story.
No,
Sorry,
my point essentially was like we watched that, we were tripping, we got up there, and we were both just like, this isn't what we want to do. We want to make a difference in the world. He went to New York to be a model, came back and hated everything he came from. I continued to build on the people that I not to be a hater. Not to be a hater to him, but yeah, so like it was crazy where we went from there. But it was like in that moment, it was just like I want to make a change. I don't want it to be just this. I don't want it to be like what we think we should do. I don't want it to be just like I'm going along with these things that I felt like I was supposed to do. But I want to figure out what I really want to do, and I want to figure out what I feel like a purpose means to me. And it was a long process. I mean, it took me probably. I mean, we've probably been doing this for 5 years, so like till I was 21.
So that's part of the esoteric experience, though, right? Or the occult experience, or the
Yes
the
and
self
no.
magic experience is the inward journey, like the ever inward spiraling staircase that never seems to stop. That there's always progress.
Yeah, I'm not saying acid gave me all the answers, but what I will say is that it gave me a light and it gave me a direction in a way that I didn't understand.
This was a
at the
trip
time.
that you had.
Yeah.
I would say that like
This is
for
a mushroom
me,
trip. Sorry.
No, it was
No,
acid.
Is it? An
It gave
acid
me a
trip?
direction in which I was like, I don't know where I want to go, but I want to go.
Was it
in this
just
way.
because I don't mean to nitpick, but was it was it a gel? Was it a tab? Was it a drop? Or was
It was a tab.
drops. Oh,
a tab.
Now this one was a tab.
Are you sure? This is Jared's? Or
It
no?
might have been the drops. Yeah, you might have been right. It might have been his at the time.
Sorry, Jared. I didn't mean to.
yeah, but I think it was
name
his.
dropping in here.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think it was
My
his-
bad.
I think it might have been. It was one or the other. It was either drops or the tabs at the time, because I mean, he had both given at any given. He mostly had the drops at the time though. But yeah, that shit was insane. I just remember like I took some mushrooms in college too, and that was probably one of the worst experiences in my entire life.
I will say for me, the difference has always been like acid is like much more visual, and mushrooms are much more introspective. For me, specifically for me.
Not
Like,
for me.
I think
Yeah.
for with mushrooms, I definitely like I'm not so much in my head, and I'm not worried about what I'm seeing. It's more about like how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, and that's like where the trip lies. Like kind of lies with me on mushrooms. It's not necessarily about what I'm seeing or what's about to happen or what could happen. Like I'm not even really in that anxious space. I'm kind of in like a space of living in the now. With acid, it's more so like I could probably see some crazy shit at any given moment, so I need to be prepared for that. So I'm almost like always on edge whenever I'm on acid type shit.
It's crazy because acid.
I would
when
think
I'm looking
that's
at
a pre-suffused, or I probably sound
probably
stupid.
is.
I'm gonna use simpler words. I'm gonna use
Pre-suffused.
simpler words because I don't know if that's the right
A
word to
preface.
use. I think that's probably a pre-made mentality that is creating that in your trip, right? So you're
Pre-suffused.
expecting acid to work that way. So,
Not even an expectation. It's just off experience based. So maybe it's like that.
but that might have been your
presumption was
one experience, and
not
then
no.
because I've done both, and I had quite the opposite experience.
in the the first time I ever tripped was whenever
a lot
I
of people
was
say the same thing.
Right,
whenever
yeah,
I
yeah.
the first time I tripped was the spring break of my freshman year at college. So I was 18 still. I hadn't turned 19 because I wouldn't turn 19 until that May. So I'm 8 years into being like I guess a psychedelic taker or whatever the psychonaut, however you want to fucking look at
Psychonaut,
it.
you can say that.
But
That's a good way.
but
People
in
love
that, but in that, I haven't actually tripped in over a year. So I'm really only like 7 years in. In that 7 years, I've done probably easily 250 tabs of acid, easily like a lot of shrooms. Like I've done a fair amount of sessions of like different quantities, different qualities, things like that. So I would say it's not just like the presumption based. It's a lot of it is experience based because a lot of those experiences were completely different from each other. Dosage was the same, environment was the same.
I mean, it's a
but
it's a
I
mindset
wasn't
setting.
the same.
For sure.
I wasn't
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same
yeah.
necessarily. So, but that's kind of what I'm saying is like I would like to blame it on like a pre-suffused
Yeah, I don't know.
condition.
Oh, come on. Let's not go back to that. Come on. Wait, let's at least find out what the phrase means. Can we at least
Took me
look
a
up
second.
what
You
the
said
phrase
that. I was
means?
like, that doesn't sound right. But I thought about it. I was like, oh yeah, this motherfucker said that bullshit.
Come on, man. Look, I'm not
It's,
perfect, you know?
pre.
None of us are perfect, you know?
No, we're not.
I mean,
in-
you weren't
Hey,
that
look,
fucking
hey,
far
I
off.
got
Pre-suffix-
fucking Mario
it's
over here.
prefix.
Get prefix.
It's prefix and suffix.
Okay,
You
okay,
put them
okay.
together basically.
Alright.
But yes.
Pre-suffice.
Pre-suffix.
It's okay. We're not Andrew Huberman. We're not Andrew Huberman or Lex Friedman over here who's fucking a robot.
Yeah, no,
Lex
we're not
Friedman's
professors at
hilarious.
any
I
fucking
love
robot.
Lex Friedman's podcast. He's
One of the
funny
best.
because he's so dry and humorous at the same time. Like he'll make jokes, but they're really dry.
Some
Like,
of them are bad
yeah,
jokes.
it's
and you're
like
like,
he's-
oh, but he tried.
He's
that was
making
good.
a joke that the person on the podcast doesn't get, but you know the listener gets it, and the person on the podcast is like, that joke makes me uncomfortable.
I'm not
and
gonna lie,
and
one of
Lex
the-
Friedman's like,
One of the funniest things, like, not to bring up Rogan, but one of the funniest things on Rogan is whenever one of his guests tells a joke and it
Goes
just
over his
goes
head.
right over his
Oh my
fucking
God.
head. Norman's consistent with it. He's always on, so a lot of the time when Joe just thinks it's conversation. or
Random,
something,
but that's why I love
they're
Gillis.
always jokes, and they're just going, and he's responding
I've
to
never
them
thought
as if
about it.
there's
I've never thought about it.
conversation.
Honestly, I mean, I don't watch all of Joe Rogan's episodes. Like when a new one comes out, I'm not like the person that watches it, so I might have missed him. But that sounds hilarious.
No, it is.
Like
because
in
I
goes
can
over
see
his head.
him doing
No,
that.
it goes over his head.
Norman will say some shit and he'll be like, "Why would you say that?" It's like,
Wait, Norman who?
Mark Norman.
Mark Norman.
Sorry.
You should watch him.
Wait, who
Great
is that?
comedian.
Oh wow.
Oh, he's another comedian. Okay, I don't normally watch the episodes that are other comedians.
No, but
I
Mark
usually
I'm
Norman.
watch
not gonna
like
lie,
the
you're missing out on some
scientists.
beautiful
I
fucking
watch some
content.
of them. I watch some of them. I don't watch a
I would
lot
say-
of them because
I would say personally, Mark Norman's my favorite comedian. Shane Gillis is close, but Mark Norman's probably my
Shane Gillis
favorite.
is just.
But it's crazy. Not that many people know Mark Norman, unless you know comedy.
Well, so that's the thing. He's
Shane
just a
Gillis
comi-
is more well
He's a
known.
comedy purist. Basically, he doesn't care about like the advertisement. He doesn't care. I'm not to say that he doesn't have a marketing team or an
He's a hipster.
advertisement team and things like that. It's not even
Oh.
a hipster. It's
I'm
more
just
so just
kidding.
like he's not in it for the money. He's in it for the notoriety, so that more people can come to his shows. Obviously, like who's a comedian that doesn't want people to come to their shows? But to a degree, he's also somebody that is looking at the jokes for what they could be, not
he's
really
always
looking
gonna
at
I
the
like
content
people
for,
that are honest with their jokes.
Yes,
like
that's I
Oh,
agree.
he doesn't.
I don't watch a
cut
lot of
off.
I don't watch a lot
He
of
doesn't-
stand up because some of it got a little softer. Now that there's, I'm
No,
not
it
like a,
didn't.
I'm not. I'm also not.
Not
In
gonna
my
lie,
mind,
it
I don't
didn't.
think
It
I'm
did,
like a hard
but-
right, like comedy lover. Because I know that
Depends on who
stuff's
you're
out there.
watching.
Not really.
Like, I don't
because
think I'm one of
what
those
you're
people,
talking about is from
as
the
far as I
pandemic,
know.
right?
No, I don't like. I
Or
don't like
when does
people that
this
are
start?
pulling punches from anybody. Like I
When
want to
did
see
this-
it on like what's his name, Shane Gillis. I like.
Yeah.
He's pretty good about
Not pulling
hitting
punches.
everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
so
he's pretty
when
good about
did
that.
you when you say like comedy has gotten
Mark
to
Norman
like
is
a
too.
when
for
you
sure.
say comedy's gotten to like a stale
Yeah.
point, when do you think that started? Because I would say that in the last
Pandemic
probably
for
like
sure.
last year, it's gotten back ramped up to like not.
I would
pulling
say it
punches.
was synonymous with the cancel culture.
That's
It's pretty
exactly
much
what I would
exactly
say.
that.
That's exactly what I would say. From 2020 to 2022,
I would even
comedy
say,
was
I would,
at a
I would
very
say
stale
but it
point.
had to have started a little bit before that, right? Because it didn't just,
No.
it wasn't
Kind
just
of.
like 2020.
No.
It happened. It was
Kind
like,
of.
like it was a build up. Like
Not
I don't
that
think all.
much.
No, I don't think all of the pandemic was the sole reason comedy changed.
I actually
like that
didn't-
doesn't
it was a-
honestly like that
There
that
were-
that doesn't
say it-
correlate.
Yeah, it does.
Not
Hooked up,
100%.
everyone's on the internet. Everyone has
not
stuff to do.
100%. Not
the
100%.
turning point, and
Not
this might be
100%.
controversial, and you can cancel me if you want to. Turning point, Chris D'Elia. Literally, like the
He
Me
was
Too movement.
okay. So I would say
was
he's like
going
a
on
facet
in-
of it.
No,
You know what I mean?
I think he was the facet of it because he was the face of comedians getting quote unquote caught up for whatever they were doing on the
Yes,
side.
he
type
was
shit.
he was in cancel culture of comedy specifically, but there was
Dave
other
Chappelle.
people.
cancellation,
But there
though?
was other people that people were getting on. You just didn't hear about it as much.
His cancellation was one.
He
of
was
the
just the
ones
big
that
one.
was deserved though, probably.
He
To a lot of
yeah, I
degrees.
don't,
A lot
I
of the
don't know
other-
too much about his
As
because
far
I
as comedians go.
intentionally at the time was like, oh, this cancel shit's starting to get annoying. So I
You
didn't
remember
even look
fucking-
it up. Like I
you
didn't
remember
even
fucking
Google it.
Aziz's? Aziz
Aziz
got canceled
Ansari?
for fucking a bad date. He didn't touch anybody.
No,
He was creepy.
okay,
Supposedly.
It was a
he
bad
comes
date.
across a little creepy, but that's not enough for me to. I don't like cancel culture. I'm honestly like I fucking hate that shit.
I
Same,
mean,
but
most
I-
people
I
do.
want-
Dude,
I
we
wanna
were at
see
a
some
birthday party
blatant-
and like everyone was just sitting there. This is girls' guide. Literally, like it probably not to be like that guy, but it was very diverse. Girls, guys. It wasn't just like one demographic for those people.
For
It was,
what?
Like, probably
For
just,
what? What are you talking about?
No, it was a birthday party.
but like,
But like we were basically like everyone's like, nah, dude, you need some kind of pain to create something good. Everyone's like, everyone was just like, so, like someone says something about someone getting canceled. Someone's like, dude, well, like we can't cancel fucking everybody. And then everyone's like, well, we need some kind of pain to create the good shit. And then everyone's like, it is weird because no one was really saying shit, but everyone's like,
You give me a
Yes.
fucking you
Like,
give me
yes.
you give me an artist that is top 10 in their field
yeah.
that didn't suffer immensely. Give
I mean,
me
there.
one.
I mean, it's hard to
Not that
pinpoint
y'all
one.
can just come up with that on top of your head.
No, no,
I mean,
no.
I
no.
was sorry, that
fucking,
sounded really
Kurt
intense.
Cobain.
That sounded really intense.
Jesus Christ.
That sounded really intense. But I'm just saying, like,
I mean,
like
the
you
answer
give me
lies-
somebody that didn't go through it and doesn't have strong opinions about things because of what
Bobby
happened
Altoff.
to them. That you know what I mean? Like, tell me somebody because I don't think anyone can. Like, I don't think you can tell me anybody.
I think the question there is like, what do you define as a top 10, and then what do you really know about the person you're talking about? Do you really actually have a clear viewpoint of like what this person's been through, or is everything through the looking glass of what they're being shown on the internet type
regardless,
shit?
I think it's impossible. I think regardless, it shows that you can't have people that are good at their art form without them having struggle, because struggle breeds art. That's a classic term that I think most people, we all
Edgar Allan
accept
Poe.
this, right?
Jesus
Struggle
Christ, why?
struggle breeds art, right? No, I mean
Is he
really,
still top
like
10?
I mean, hey,
No,
fuck,
but-
I love Edgar Allan Poe. I don't give a shit. Like that dude's one of the
They're making
greatest
shows and
poets.
movies after that
I'm just
motherfucker to this
kidding.
day.
Literally for
And he fucked a 13-year-old.
Okay, I mean it was different
Karl
back
Malone.
then. You know what I mean? Like,
Times
not
were
that it's
different.
okay. Not that it's okay, but like,
I mean, Karl Malone's a top 3 NBA scorer all time. He got a fucking 12-year-old pregnant.
who?
Oh, God.
I don't know basketball. Who?
Dude, Romeo and Juliet, they were trying to fuck a 13-year-old too. Like,
Weren't
Each
they
other?
both 13-year-olds?
Yes.
no, Romeo was 16.
So, so
But-
there's a law now.
So
that
who's
that's
the
okay,
13-year-old
actually.
that
Yeah, no,
Juliet
but I'm
was
saying
trying
is
to
like
fuck?
the adults were trying to fuck her though.
Oh,
What?
you're right.
Oh, wait, no.
They
Hold
were
on,
trying
wait.
to. They were
Back
trying
then,
to. It was
didn't people
deranged
get
marriage.
married at like 13?
Yeah.
So
Isn't
it's
that like
okay?
Not now.
No,
I'm not saying it's okay now, but I'm saying like in the context, like wasn't
in my day.
Well, I'm just saying, like, wasn't that normal back then? Like, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
nobody,
13 arranged
like,
marriages,
a dude
arranged marriages,
did
yeah,
not
yeah.
marry a girl his age. That was, if I'm mistaken, that was not common.
No, because you were the most fertile at a
Because
certain
you
age, so they would-
basically, like, I mean, girls
We're
can
talking
al-
about an age before consent.
No,
Consent
well
wasn't
now,
a word in
yeah,
this
yeah,
age,
exactly.
in the
But no
time
matter
we're
what,
talking
that
about.
was the average back then. Because I don't
yeah,
think dudes.
because people looked at it from like a biological
You
standpoint.
were expected
If
to get
she's able
married-
if she's able to have a child, which
Right.
biologically speaking, women go through
Right.
puberty before men.
Yeah, there was dudes that
so
were kings at 12.
You
know what I
That's like a lineage thing. I'm not gonna take away from that. It's a different
I
conversation.
mean, if
though.
someone
No, I'm
got
saying you have
murdered,
responsibility of an adult put on you as a child.
if
that
the-
lives
if
are
there's
on
like
the
a
line.
death
So it
above
was-
you,
it
but if you're
was-
just a
everything
prince,
was
then you
different.
don't have to worry about that
Yeah,
shit.
no, what he's saying, I think, is like everything's kind of different and skewed because it's like you could be 12, 13, you're
They
the
view-
man
well,
of the
your
family.
your
Yes.
life expectancy was so low back then. You were viewed as an adult.
You were a third of your life
much
has
younger
been
than you are
completed at
now.
13,
yeah, like
yeah.
much younger than you are now. Like, so you wouldn't marry. Like more than likely, I mean, shit. A lot of people didn't live to 30. But if you were 20, who are you going to marry? You're marrying probably a 14-year-old, more than likely. As a dude,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's a fact. I'm not saying that's cool or anything. I'm just saying more than likely.
We're not even
in
saying
history,
that you're
if-
okay with
you know-
it, but that's probably what's going
that's
to
probably
happen.
what's
Yeah.
happening.
You might not
That's-
even like what's going
No,
on, but
more than likely you didn't
good
even
luck changing the
choose.
system.
No,
buddy.
Guys,
marriages
going
were
back
not
to it-
arranged by, oh, I love them.
We
that ain't
keep
it.
trying to bring up how fucked up people were back in the day, but things were at different times, and we're like, it's like people are like, well, that's an excuse. No, it's just like the fact.
Just the way
if,
it
like,
was.
If socially, like the thing is, like nowadays, y'all, a lot of people, whether y'all want to admit it or not, do things because they're socially acceptable.
Yeah.
Back then, things were socially acceptable, so people were just fucking doing
Not
them.
even
You could-
acceptable, expected of you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well,
Because most of
that,
the
but
marriages
also
were
it's like-
arranged.
That, but also, but beyond that, what you're talking about is that like it's kind of interesting how willing we are to say it's like, well, that's not right. It's like nobody fucking said it was, but that doesn't mean it didn't exist.
Well, they
We
did
can't
back
just.
then.
Well, what I'm saying is no, they probably didn't. It's the same way of like the education system. All of us know it's fucked. Doesn't mean we have the power to fucking
Oh, they
change
saw,
it.
yeah, no,
They're-
you got
they
your
saw it as
average
like
people that are like,
there's
I have a
probably
problem
like
with
I
this.
don't think this is okay, but like you said, it's like they're arranged marriages. I don't give a fuck what you think or how you feel, motherfucker. You have a farm you need to run. You're not gonna run it by yourself. You need some goddamn kids. She can have some kids for you. I don't give a fuck how you feel about this. We got some fucking shit to do, and you gonna be at the helm of this doing this
Because
shit getting done.
Yeah,
It was
people would be like,
sis-
hey, how big is this pig? Yeah, you can have my daughter.
Yeah, literally, that's a big. that's
literally,
really how it
people-
was, though. Like
People
that's
would
really
be
how
like,
it
"Oh,
was.
my kid is sick. We can have another one." Like it was that
No,
level of
it was
society.
at the point where you had kids, like I think we talked about earlier
Yeah,
at the beginning
like-
of the podcast.
It was numbers
you
game.
weren't having
Yeah.
kids. Like you were having kids because it was free labor. Because to you, your whole purpose in life was to farm to feed those people in your immediate and your
Household.
association. So it could have been you were the farmer of the village, which that really wasn't it most of the time. People weren't in villages. They were spread out, and they lived in farms that only consisted of their families, right? So you were farming to...
Or you would drive into the village to sell your
Right, that's
the
that's like
market,
the,
the market.
most. And
I mean,
then
think
and
about the
that's, that,
tax
you're
system.
thinking
That's
of
when fish just
colonial
gets
America,
bigger.
like that's what you're picturing. But let's go back to Vikings.
But not even
let's go back
America.
to
But I mean-
Vikings
But some of
before
those
that was
places
even
still have
thought of.
marketplaces. They have marketplaces.
They do.
It's
Yes,
true.
they do. But that
Like-
is maybe
later now.
2% of the population of Scandinavia was people that were what we know now. They were Vikings, right? Because Viking was not a culture. That was a thing you did as a Scandinavian person, because Scandinavian would be the culture. So there was like a very small percentage of the people were Vikings. 95% of the culture was just farmers back where they came from. So they would venture out, and there's like, a very small
then-
percentage of their population would go and they would raid. But most of the time now we know they didn't actually raid. They traded with people. Vikings were successful because they traded a lot, and people loved Vikings because they had a bunch of shit that they wanted because they were trading all across the world. So you could get silk from Japan in Europe because Vikings, Scandinavians. But yeah, that was so it's like there's a whole thing of like there's a misconception.
So it was like that generalization where people associated Scandinavian.
But is
with
it a
Vikings.
generalization?
My original point was more talking about you're a fucking farmer more than likely, and you're
In that
providing
time?
for your family. That is all. So yeah, you're gonna
But
have kids because 3 sons. That's why you want sons. 3 sons that are working the field with you. You just cut your labor literally by 3.
Well,
That's
well,
why
really-
people had kids.
Realistically,
and then you have a
4, but-
girl, so you can marry them off
Stellar.
to another family that has
They
3
pay money.
sons.
They
And
pay
then
money.
you grow your land. and
that's
your
a whole
property
thing,
and
like
your,
the whole royal, like I forgot the word for it, where like there's a family would pay to be able to like marry into this.
A lot of
royal
people
family.
did
There's
that.
a,
that's
there's
like
a word
that was
for
like
it.
a big thing back then.
There's a word
and
for
it
it,
sucks.
though.
Like I swear to God, I hope people don't think that I'm saying that this stuff is like
I mean,
a good way to look
stop,
at it.
Yeah,
I just think people should
that,
look at the history like for what it was. You know what I mean?
I mean, it just goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of so long ago. It feels like now. But when we were talking about just like history and I've drawn so many blanks. What were we talking about?
Daniel did
Your
crack
mom?
before this, and he
Yeah.
just
No.
had a hard
A
time.
dowry. That's what it's called.
Ooh, yeah.
A royal dowry. That's where you.
What was that?
A
Is
dowry
that,
is a payment.
property or
A
money?
payment such as property or money
Okay.
paid by the bride's family to the groom or his family at the time of the marriage. Dowry contrast. It could go either way though. Like if it's a princess,
Or
like
prince-
that.
Marrying
like, no, no,
lower?
no. If it's a princess that like someone outside of the royal kingdom wants to marry, then that person's family would have
Pay
to
the
pay
dowry.
the royal
So
family.
it went both
In the
ways.
same way that like a bride's family would have to pay to the groom. So, but yeah, no, I think like what's interesting about a lot of the things that we're talking about like how these systems that have been in well, not this one as much anymore, but there's systems in place that are hard to break out of, whether you're in that system,
Dowries
like,
still
in that
happen.
age, they do, and whether you're still in that age or outside of that age, kind of now looking back on it. The point of it is that like, bro, there's so many things that like look at the tax system. It's still head of household independence. It's like that's from a time point of like
What is?
the tax system, like whether you categorize yourself as a head of household or a dependent
Yeah,
of a
no,
head of
we're in
household,
feudal-
like that's
yeah,
still
we're in
based off of
feudal
a
ages
system
with
of
that.
like farmers,
Yeah.
like somebody that is the head of this household that has other people that depend on them to be able to either go to the market or complete the transactions, get the sales done from whatever happens on the market or the farm, that type shit. You know what I mean? Like there was typically this one person, you, the man, or whatever, that was at the helm of these other people that were depending on you. That's not really the world we live in anymore. Yes, of course people have kids and those are their dependents in certain situations, but then what about the fucking 24-year-old that still gets to categorize himself as a dependent of someone else's household? Realistically, motherfucker, you should be ahead of your own household by every grand scheme of the fucking system that you're existing in, but you're kind of playing it because we haven't created a better system.
That's also the whole reason that like we allowed things like what was it you were an apprentice, a something apprentice, where you had to pay off a debt by working for somebody, but you were learning a trade, so that pays it off. What is it?
It's not-
Servitude.
It's an indentured servitude.
Indentured servitude. Yes,
Is that really what
indentured
it is?
servitude. Yes. So you're paying it off by learning a trade, and so by working for this person for free and then barely feeding you, you're paying off your education to them, and that's essentially
back
what
in
it
the
was.
day, that was
It's,
kind
But-
it's slavery with room and
Yes,
board.
but before that, before America was even discovered,
But it
that
did end up
that
working.
evolved from the fact that you had what was
Butlers.
legally called, I believe, I could be wrong, but what was legally called actual peasants, like what peasants were. And peasants were farmers that farmed for themselves, and then the tax wasn't money. The tax was you paying a certain amount of what you farmed to your landlord, essentially, the person that ran the land that you lived on, right? Now, no one would defend you. They couldn't pay, like a lot of fantasy movies and stuff like that, like to act like there was just these big armies that were paid to defend the land and defend the peasants and, we fight for king and country and stuff. And that's not how it was. The peasant was, all right, now you work with all these other people that live in the region we live in, so we need you. We call upon you to come and defend it because it's your land that you're fighting for, right?
You have
So
to, yeah.
because you owe me taxes and you have to provide for your family. If this person comes in here and invades our country, then they're going to fuck your shit up, and that's going to fuck it up for us, and it's going to fuck it up for you, so you have to come and we call upon you to defend our country. That's slavery. I don't want to fight this war. You have to. They
I
would
think about-
literally go and make them. Like so
I
sorry,
hate
I
to-
didn't emphasize that enough. No, they were making you do it. Like, you have to fight for us.
Well, I mean, this,
I
to
hate-
all our boys in the military, I mean,
because you owe
the
it to
homies
me
and shit,
because
I
I
mean,
allow you to farm.
the military
on
is a
my
level
land.
of slavery as well. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Ah,
just
for
as much
sure.
of
Yeah,
the same will. It's
100%,
like
yeah.
we'll give you a stipend, we'll give you free education, we'll give you the benefits and the da 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 da. We'll give you all these things. All you have to do is risk your life for 4 years and maybe beyond that, depending on the service that you choose.
Yeah.
Well,
And,
they could always
and then
rewrite the laws to
So
call you
I'm
back.
this guy, and I hate to be it, but like the Roman Empire. So like,
We are the modern Roman Empire.
how much do you think about the
Uh,
Roman Empire?
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, but like for real though, like the fucking, I get why the people say that is because like it was one of the biggest civilizations that we
Why
like
should
to
you
look
not
after for
think
history.
about it?
But anyways, I don't think about it that much.
No,
I
but like
don't
you
ever
could
think
think about
about
a
it,
lot of
but-
different
Time, time,
things.
yeah,
you know?
about it. Yeah, from time to time. But it's like within that civilization, there were like a lot of slaves. Like in the sense of
Yeah.
like it didn't matter. Like you would come out like we captured you. You're gonna fucking work this shit and you're gonna work this shit. And sometimes you would gain potentially like a citizen, not like a real citizenship, but like you would get like some type of
Right.
Realistically,
What was a ci-
you just become the oppressor in that society.
And then
you go from the oppressed to the oppressor.
Well, no, sometimes you would end up being in the military. You would be in the military.
and then enforce things
Yeah,
upon
yeah,
other
force
they
people
were,
things
that
they
you
were
upon
used
us
to
very
be.
much
Because-
like America in the fact that you could be the outside country that they just invaded, and one way that you could incorporate yourself into Roman civilization was join the Roman military after they conquered you, and like, okay, well, people will respect me more because I'm part of Rome, right?
And you would
so
force
it's
people to
that's
respect you.
that's like that's
You don't gotta look
colonization
that far.
101, right?
You don't gotta look that far. Think about it, fucking ROTC guys. Like I love.
No,
like,
100%.
this is nothing against that. It's like
that's what I'm saying. It hasn't changed. We are
it's not.
Rome. Like we
That's
are Rome.
And Rome fell.
100%.
and we are
We
showing a
surpassed
lot of
Rome,
the
though,
signs of Rome's
years.
fall.
Have we
But-
surpassed Roman years? I don't know if that's true.
I
No,
don't
we are
think
very
that
new. I
that's
do not think we are
close
even.
to
I don't. I
true.
think we're
We're
maybe
too-
half. I think we're at half the years.
What are we at? Like 250, 270?
No, we're 3 something.
Oh fuck, the Rome.
No, we're not
lasted
in the
No,
long-
they
threes yet.
lasted way longer.
1,000.
We're not in the
years?
threes,
We
buddy.
are going to crumble before they did.
2076 would be 300.
The issue is that they allowed.
I thought Rome was way less. than
No.
1,000.
America's
No, no, no,
1776, right?
Rome was originally even independent. Like it was even more independent states than it was at the end, which it was still very independent states at the end. But it was even more so towards the beginning, and then they got even more unified. And then you had real asshole emperors come in like Caligula and stuff like that, and just kind of ruin it for everybody. Not that America deals with that now.
Yeah, not at all. But I mean, to a degree, I think there is an important distinction between like the two. It's not the time, like just obviously, but the ramp up. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
the kind of the way that the last what like 25 years have had probably 300 to 400 times the impact than the 250 years before that. You know what I mean? Like there is a degree of like impact throughout all of that time.
Yeah.
But there is also a ramp up over the last 25 years to where this civilization has experienced something that maybe no other civilization, at least on record, has before. Because we have like the thought processes that there is civilizations with technologies that we don't really have any record of or proof of or anything. But without having any of that record or proof, it's all that thought process of like what could it have
We could
been.
also be experiencing it in different ways. Whereas instead of having it word of mouth, we have it word of technology. But the main thing I would say is what we could analyze and what we could look at instead of looking at things that like don't benefit us. How could we look at it in ways that we are similar? So like what ways are we similar? So Rome was really good about letting people have their own religion. They were very good about that. They were far above at least any other civilization. They let people
That's
have
why they
their
were able
religion.
to get a lot of
because they
people
were
too.
there was a lot of that. Now that gets
That's why
that gets
Christianity actually
misconstrued a lot.
Roman Empire actually is part of the reason Christianity. Actually,
It's I would almost even say the main
The
reason.
reason.
I would almost even
The
say
reason.
yeah.
But
It's
my
because
point
like
is,
Christianity allowed you to like opposed to a lot of other religions, allowed you to be more free. You didn't have to wear certain things, basically forgiveness after death. It was a lot of different shit.
yeah, there's a
Well,
lot of stuff, but
Beyond that, it was just that they had one of the most major militaries at the time. So anything that they kind of I'm
But
talking
the
about mainly the Crusades to
yes.
a degree. It's
Well,
like,
that would not be Rome.
That's
So
different.
that would not
Yeah,
be
wait, no,
Rome.
that's not
that
Rome.
would
That's
who is that?
different.
so that would
the
actually
Ottoman?
be the Anglo-European church, technically.
That was way after.
so the
That was way
Crusades-
after.
The Crusades were multiple nations coming together under mainly European descent, like Anglo descent, that were fighting to reclaim, what in their opinion, reclaim the Holy Land. That's what the Crusades were.
Yeah,
So
like,
Jerusalem,
with the Roman Empire,
right,
they
and
were
stuff
like, you
like
could
that.
still do polytheism was still kind of thing.
In
They were
Rome,
still
yes.
sacrificing people.
So Rome was capturing
God.
north and south. They took over almost the entire side of the world, right? But they weren't really asking people to change their religion. They were like, it's okay if you have your religion, just, keep Rome in mind while you do that, right? So what's similar to America in that? America's like, well, you can kind of have your religion and, you can have your own religion, but keep America in mind. Just remember that. You know what I mean? And it's like, and when the time comes, we're going to ask you to, be American, not be that. You know what I mean? And that's something that I would say is like kind of similar in the Roman to American aspect. And then there's that, and like Rome paved the way technologically for a lot of the world, and it took a lot of bloodshed to do that. And I would say America has done the exact same thing. I would say that's very similar with science and other stuff. And I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that in a bad way. Not a
Alright.
bad way. Just, an observation.
I'm gonna say we're over 3 hours right now.
We are over 3 hours.
So I'm gonna say it's been a
Halloween,
great
dude.
episode. Yeah, Halloween, spooky seasons. We covered a lot of. I feel like we covered so much, dude.
Somehow we landed on the Roman Empire. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're in this bitch.
It's been a lot of fun, you guys.
Thank you guys for
Great
another
episode.
beautiful episode. It's a me and
It's a me and Josh.
Fucking Fine and Dandy and Daniel and Sucky.
Oh,
and
come on,
booty
I'm
butts.
Cole. I'm Cole.
And Cole.
No, I was saying because Daniel dropped his beer, but yeah. Thank you guys for joining us for another beautiful episode. We have some more guests lined up for the end of the year. We've got probably a good 10 weeks left for this year. Been on a fucking run this year, but we've
going.
got so much more planned for the future. Anything you guys want to say?
Have a happy Halloween. Love each other. Have a good time. Enjoy the rest of your year. Most of all.
Get spooked.
Yeah, dude. Enjoy the
Spooky.
holidays. Take your time with each other. Enjoy friends, family, all that stuff, community. We're losing that a little bit in the holidays, but let's try to bring that back, Have fun.
Don't
yeah,
be a
dude.
Roman.
Friends are fun is for friends who do stuff together. You is for you and me.
And it's for anywhere, oh, down in the deep sea.
All right, you guys fucking be
Yeah.
good to yourselves.
Hey, guys.
Later, dudes.